that I had to wear. And I remember just how short they were on me. And just every time I would go somewhere, they would feel so naughty. I even remember as a child just feeling, because they would bunch up, but it was just because my growth was headed down this wild little, little route. My growth was going down this wild route where I was going to look a little, robust. And I remember my shorts they would always creep up on my thighs and be all naughty. And I remember, at that time, sometimes local men that were probably, kind of had those, kind of had the devil just beanstalking up and down their spine, just climbing up and down their spine. Some men like that would look at me, I think sometimes with a little bit of that, like I was like a young scallop or something, and they were just a hardy sailor, and they just wanted to bite into daddy. Little daddy at the time, because I was a child. But anyhow, what I'm saying is I remember being a child and thinking, man, I wonder what the future is going to be like. I wonder what the future is going to be like. And now here we are. Here we are in the future. Let me turn this audio up a little bit so I can catch you guys, man. There we go, right there. Yeah, now we are in the future, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. It's 2018. Happy New Year to you. 2017's over. If you had something flashing back there, if you had a little bit of greased lightning, electrocuting your insides, then that's over. If you had something, I bet you had something good happen too. Everybody looks at 2017. I see all these things, so glad it's over. Dude, 2017, that shit was wild. I've been alive for 37 of these things, of these spatial roundabouts. I've been alive for 37 of these outer space disco spins. And I'll tell you this, that this one was the wildest. People are feeling lit up. People are feeling erect in their souls, I think, fired up. People want this or don't want that. People are, standing up for this and, uncertain about that. Last year made me think. Last year made me think about who I was. Made me think about who I was, man. You had a lot of stuff last year. You had the election going on. It made you think, like, what's your line in the sand for what America is and what America isn't, and what you want the future in this country to look like and who represents that. Even if you don't think, and I'm not a fan of politicians. I think the past, I'd probably say maybe 30 years in politics have been sold out in America, where it's just big businesses. These politicians are just puppets. But it's like we had this past year where at least you had to kind of pick a side in your heart a little bit, or you had to see, when you can see through the cracks now of these people. You can see how grimy and gritty these people get to get this office, and how much of an egomaniac you have to be to live, I bet, in that whole political world. But it made you stand up last year and think. You had the Black Lives Matter that was abundant last year. It made you think, man. Some people were like, yeah, well, fuck it, this. And some other people were like, well, what are you kneeling for? You're at your job. Do your job, I don't call, I don't, stop by Starbucks to ask the barista how they feel about something. I stop by Starbucks to get coffee, So I stop by the NFL to get football. That it's an escape from, the callings and the questions of society. But last year it was inflicted. Everything was on top of the other thing. There was no walls. There was no separation. Everything was flooding into everything else. And it was tough. There were some weeks there where I just couldn't friggin' stand just the media, how the media just just has so much blood on their hands but takes no accountability. There were times where I couldn't stand how the lack of empathy. There were times where I couldn't stand it. But it just made me question. It made me question, well, do I have racism in me? You had the woman gate at the end of the year. And I'm going to call it woman gate, but you had, this, and all year you had this, this fire by a lot of feminists. And look, feminism, I support a hardworking woman getting what she wants in the world. I support a woman not having to feel like that they don't matter and not having to feel like they don't have any value. I support anybody. I want anybody to feel that way. But then there's also a band of straight up man haters out there who don't want anything good for men, who want to be evil, and who don't even want to acknowledge the beauties of women, some of the natural beauties of women, being able to make children and be able to, have the ability to mother. It's just women that just want to make money. And if you asked me honestly, as a soul, not as a man, but if you could make money or if you could be a mother, create something with your body, dude, I'd be a dang mother. All right, I'd be a mother with a mustache, though, you know what I'm saying? I'd still keep my manhood. But it made me question, that whole, and it's still going on. I'm not saying it stopped, but there was a lot of stoking of the fires, asking us last year who we were, who we are. And it made me think, do I treat women a certain way? Have I always, if I do, where does it come from? Is it because of a relationship I have in my past, in my family? When a woman talks, am I listening to her differently? Am I looking at her differently? It made me ask myself these things. It made me ask myself about race, racism, about where do I have views? If I'm walking past, the town I grew up in, it was black and white. So my history with a lot of race and a lot of the racial issues in America are black and white. So I would think, do I listen if I'm talking to a black man, or if I'm talking to, if I'm meeting a new black friend, do I have certain views or certain, do I feel different than if I'm meeting a white person? It made me ask myself some questions, and I like that. Some people don't want to feel some of that discomfort of asking themselves questions, and that's fine. That's fine if you don't want to, but I don't think you have anything to lose by doing it. And I think even though 2017 was wild and it was fiery, and Trump won office, but look, I'll say this, dude. That was the most or that was 2016 that he won or whatever, but he got inaugurated. That was one of the most savage things ever. That was gangsta. That dude snuck in, Mr. Steal Yo office. Because there was surely a moment when everyone was riding down the street after Trump got elected thinking to themselves, man, fuck, I could be president. I could be president? You want to talk about giving everybody hope? Man, look, the guy is certainly an egomaniac. He's an empath. He probably never was loved in his life, it seems like, if you look into the history about him and his father. He probably doesn't know about love. He probably doesn't, he's probably just has a lot of, is not very empathetic at all. But he's a dirty businessman. That's what he is. But also, that's what most of this fucking country is these days. And that's what most of politics is these days, is dirty businessmen. So, am I surprised that he ended up there? I'm not at all. I am not at all. And I think he captured some of I don't want to say the poor white vote, but just, dude, white people have been looked down upon so much. When you're poor and white, dude, the only thing you have a lot of times is, your belief in America and religion. And Hollywood beats those things up, So I think Hollywood kind of even ruined a lot of that vote, by just saying, just being very anti kind of the red, white, and blue idea of America, even if that's an advertised, old-fashioned idea. I think Hollywood beat that idea up, and Hollywood's always, it's just, so many shows I feel like beat down on religion a lot. And when you're poor, man, trust me, look, dude, I've been right there. There were many years of my life where the only thing I felt like I had somewhere inside of me was the hope that a higher power or a God out there cared about me or loved me. So when you beat up on that kind of stuff, man, you're going to have people rebel. You're going to have people angry. And it's rocky, man. It's rocky. But 2017 made me personally think a lot. Made me think about things. And here we are, man. We're in 2018. And I'm not going to, I'm not dwelling, but we got a lot of cool stuff happening here on this past weekend. I'm going to get into a couple of things that happened to me actually this past weekend. I got to perform for both of the Rose Bowl teams, Georgia Bulldogs and Oklahoma Sooners. That was straight crispy. That was crispy Yamaguchi. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about my New Year's Eve plans. I went back home and visited my family. If you haven't checked that out on YouTube, you can meet my family. It's called Meet My Family Christmas on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, please. I appreciate your support. I'm going to announce a couple of stand-up comedy dates. January 11th through the 14th, I'll be at the Brea Improv in Brea, California. January 18th through the 20th, I'm at the New Comedy Club in Jacksonville, Florida. February 2nd through 3rd, I'll be at the Oxnard, California at Levity Live. February 22nd through the 24th, I'll be in Indio, California at Fantasy Springs Casino. And April 6th and 7th, I'll be in Tampa, Florida at Rock Brothers Brewing. Some of those links will be available on theovon.com/tour, T-O-U-R, and some of those will be going up here in the next week as we get those shows put up. But those are all real dates, and those are places that I'll be coming to. And if you want to go somewhere, won't you go to Greyblock Pizza? Greyblock Pizza, man, that charter sponsor of this past weekend. They got them calzones, them salads. They're the only place in America that have that salad pizza. They got them gourmet pizzas and them beverages. Get your thirsty. Get your hungry. Get your Greyblock Pizza. 1811 Pico Boulevard, Los Angeles, on the way to the beach. Stop in there. Crack open your jaw. Open your mouth. Get that hit up. Man, I'll tell you this. These football players, if I had to pick one team, I don't even know when these guys play. Actually, they play Monday night. Based on how they behaved as a group at the comedy shows. Because each team, there was a lineup. We performed different nights for each team. One night for the Georgia Bulldogs and one night for them Oklahoma Sooners, them boys out of Oklahoma. And I would say based on the ability to just the freneticness, I would say that Georgia Bulldogs was wild. Them boys was wild, man. We came in, they were all dancing on the stage. That was the crazy thing. So this team gets to the club before, and they're all eating at the Hollywood Improv there. And they got their team buses outside, and I put some of it up on my Patreon, actually. But they had the team buses outside, and I go inside, and I'm excited, I went to LSU. I went to University of Arizona. I went to semester at sea. I went to Santa Monica College of Charleston. I went to some different spots, But so, especially with that LSU vibe, you're involved in that SEC football. And the SEC supplies at least, I would say, half the NFL. And I know that's a lie, but still feels good saying it. And them boys, them Georgia boys, man, they were sitting up on top of the furniture. They're being wild. A lot of them golded up in that grill, just something. One dude so golded up, I wouldn't be surprised if he opened his mouth and a couple of old bearded men came walking out with pickaxes. That boy was just dang. He was he was filled up in the gills with them magical nuggets, with the magical golden nuggets. And we also, we got in there and performed it. And I'll tell you this, I got up, I was the first guy up, and I am white. And man, I started out strong. I started out hitting them, boy. I was hitting them. And all the white players, it was probably, I would say, 75-25. 75% black players, 25% white players. And you're like, and some people are like, well, what does that have to do with anything, Theo? Well, it doesn't. I'll just say this. The black players, a lot more rowdy. Black people are more rowdy, man. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, black people supply most of the world's entertainment. I mean, but these boys were out there wild. And the white boys more docile in there. So you had, I mean, then Georgia was set. I mean, just, there's people jumping around in the back and like some dudes on their phone the whole time, didn't even care. The worst part was you'd be performing and some guy would say something, because these guys are 18 to 23, huge guys. So there's a little bit of that machismo. I mean, I was intimidated. I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. Like, I mean, dudes sitting right in the front looking at me like they don't give a fuck. Because also, I'm 13 years older than these guys. So, they're probably like, what's this, this man talking about? And I'm worried a lot of times that my material is going to disconnect some. I mean, I got up there and put some hits on them. But there was a couple moments where I was like, dang, man, I feel sweat. I was like, man, I was sweating. And I told him, I was like, man, I can't even imagine playing against some of you guys. I cannot even imagine. But they were more wild, and the Oklahoma crew was more docile. And the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield, he wasn't there. And it was me, Jeff Ross, Chris D'Elia, Danielle Rawlings. And it was wild, man. It was something else. It was something else 100%. But the Oklahoma boys were more docile. Just more chill. A little bit more, I'll maybe say respectful. But I think that's a little bit more like Oklahoma. The values there are a little bit more. You kind of expect a little bit more, I don't know, respect, but it seemed like more organization. But now when I first walked in and the Oklahoma players are on stage, I mean, they just walked up on the stage at the Improv at the comedy club, and they're up there, they got 2 mics, and they're just roasting each other, just literally like whenever they, do rhymes and call each other names. And it was the worst. It was basically just people saying bitch and bitch nigga over and over again, right? It was just like anything that would rhyme with that. It was funny to see them, though. It was just like, it looked like just like in a movie, But, I mean, the teams were having a good time. I will say that. It seemed like both teams were having a great time. Some of these guys had never been to a comedy show before. So I felt honored, to be a part of that experience for them. Like, some of these guys are sitting there like, wow, this occurs, this happens, stand-up comedy. I remember the first comedy show I ever went to. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they had a friend of mine won tickets to the comedy club. Because, a lot of comedy clubs, they do that you won tickets thing. And they call you up and say, you won tickets. You're like, I didn't even enter a drawing. They're like, we don't give a fuck. You won tickets. And so, we got the tickets. We went, and I sat there, and a man got on stage and started making me laugh. And I was like, wow, this is a job? I mean, it just blew my mind that was a real thing you could do. And I laughed at this man. I think his name was Mark Gross. And years later, I would work with him in a comedy club. And this before I knew I wanted to be a comedian. I just knew I didn't want to have a regular job. But I got up there, and he was killing me. In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at the Funny Bone Comedy Club. And they had these big plastic cups that said Funny Bone on them. And you could spend, $10 and get a drink and keep the cup. But I remember thinking, wow, Unbelievable. And that's the only live comedy show I ever saw before I decided to get into the line of work myself. It's the only live comedy show I ever saw before I decided to get into that line of work. I don't know if you guys checked out. I shared it on my YouTube channel. I want to thank a gentleman named Mike at Happy Claw Productions in Atlanta. He sent me a cartoon that he made just of a random excerpt from the podcast. And, I mean, you helped make my holidays. You know, I got to show that to my family and friends, and they just loved it. I mean, they just damn, you know. And it's hilarious, dude. I look like, you know, actually, he made me look a little more handsome in the cartoon, but you can check that out. You can check that out on his YouTube page. I shared it on mine, but go there and support him. What else do I want to tell you guys? I went back home to Louisiana. I went to Mississippi. I was only able to do a short episode. Had a nice time. You know, got to see my little nieces and nephews, and my nephew's just getting long. You ever see a kid and you don't see him for a while and you're like, damn, that kid is just long. And isn't it, do you remember how weird it was when you're, and the crazy thing is you don't, let me think about this. Like, he doesn't realize he's growing. I mean, he realizes, you know, because, you know, the parents will put the marker on the door or whatever. But to him, it's just, he's just living his life. But to us, it's like, you know, when you see them once in a while, your nephews or family members, and they're growing, if they're children, then you're like, wow, that blows me out. You know, surprising to see them stretch out. But it made me remember being like, remember when you come back from school, from summer break, and you were 11 or 12 years old, and suddenly one of your friends looked like a fucking alien, bro. Remember that? You come and dude have like all of a sudden, like, one of his arms longer than the other. Like, he hit like a growth spurt, you know? I mean, just like Bear Bryant was just living in his DNA and just directing all kinds of traffic in there. Like, we're going to get him on the run, and we're going to keep him on the run, and we're going to go. And, you know, you could just see, like, you know, his chin was real long. Like, his body, you're just like, what the fuck, Daniel? Is your daddy an alien? All of a sudden, he's got pointy elbows, or he's got, you know, it was just so crazy. I remember when you saw that friend that had that growth spurt. Or they had that one friend that got the beard. Remember that? There was always that one friend who hit that fucking hair spurt. And he showed up all just hermited out with that beard. 8th grade, dude's got a clean-ass beard. And whoever the beard dude was, the second he got the beard, he had it through the rest of high school. Because he was the guy that was going to buy liquor for you. He was the guy that was going to try and sign you out of school, or if you was dating a girl at the middle school or junior high, he would go over there and try to sign her out of school. You know, he would pretend he'd come to, you know, you'd try to send him in if he didn't go to your school, you'd have him try to come to parent-teacher conferences if you got in trouble. You know, I remember we had this dude at my school named Rhapsody, right? He was mixed, you know, black and white. And he had that, but he had white beard hair. He had white person beard hair. And so Rhapsody, but he looked old, dude. Rhapsody looked like usually a mixed guy will look very young. You know, mixed dudes are everybody wants to be mixed. Mixed dudes seem like they never have a problem. You never see a stressed out mixed dude because they got it all. They're living in the lamb's nutsack. They got it all. And this, you know, and so Rhapsody, sometimes you would have him come to parent-teacher conference for you. Because he went to a school that was over in Slidell, Louisiana. So, and he looked older. So if you needed somebody to come and meet with your teacher, you'd hit up Rhapsody. You know, for I think at the time, you know, $25, he'd hit up those PTCs for you and try to be, you know, he was everybody's stepdaddy. That was a good time, man. I enjoyed being young. And that was fun. But yeah, those growth spurts, man, you'd hit those spurts and you would just, that was just so crazy to me how much children would grow and how much you'd have that weird summer where you showed up and, your buddy's eyeballs were bigger. He was just hitting a growth spurt. Or you'd be at lunch, in the morning he'd be dressed regular, and by lunchtime his shirt wouldn't even fit him. And you're like, damn, freaking Sheldon hitting that spurt, boy. This dude sprouted 2 inches, over brunch. He's spurting out. And that was always fun. But it's crazy to think that, suddenly you just hit a point where you don't grow anymore. But it was nice to see my nephew had grown some, and it was just interesting to see that and see him evolve a little bit as a person and have a little bit, when kids are 3, 4, 5, they're just they are freelance assassins. They're assailants. They're murderers without weapons. Dude, if a man came in your house and did what a 3 or 4-year-old does, throw paint everywhere, shit somewhere, that man would be in jail. If he had a weapon, one of my little nephews almost beat my sister's eye out with a little pet with a kitty litter scooper. If he would have been, if you had that same genomes in older, if you have that 3-year-old mentality in a 30-year-old, they'd be a killer. But so it's just wild to see how little children behave, but how they start to mature. It was interesting to watch, man. It was really interesting. I had a good time with my family. If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. You can meet them. And we had fun, man. My sister makes me laugh, and I got a sister that looks just like me, but she's a girl. And she always makes me laugh, man. But we had a good time. I have beautiful nieces and nephews, and I got to spend time with my mother, and not a bunch of time. And I didn't get her those goats. I didn't get my mother the goats. I was going to get her, two goats. Because if you get somebody 1 goat, you're a piece of shit. Because a goat can be lonely. That's goat's number 1 skill is to be lonely. So you always have to give somebody 2 goats. But I gave my mother 2 goats. I didn't give her 2 goats. I was going to. And then I decided against it because she didn't want it. And in the end, it was just what I wanted. But honestly, I almost felt like I should have trusted my instincts because I kept feeling I saw her on Christmas, and then I didn't see her after that because I had other families that I'd grown up living with and that I had to go stop by and see. And man, I could tell a little bit, I think, that she wanted me to stop by and drop and see her. I think she just wanted me to see her. And so I think at that point she'd wished that I had gotten the goats. So that I would have had an excuse or another reason to come by. My mother has to take care of my stepfather. He got Alzheimer's or dementia. He's out there on them, he's missing a few stacks. He's missing a few stacks in his brain racks. And so he talk about the war and, he ready to shoot him up and everything. And he likes to put on his gloves and take them off. And my mother's his caretaker. So she has to spend a lot of her time doing that. But I guess, I don't know, I wish I'd have spent more time with her. I probably should have. I just had a lot. I had a lot to do. But I don't know, sometimes when I think about my life, it seems like my mother's always been she's almost had too much stuff to do her whole life to be able to really spend time with me. Or there's always something that's pressing that prevents me and her from spending time together. And I guess that's, just a reason there's a reason for that. I don't know what it is, but maybe, more shall be revealed in the future. But good to see the family. Loved them. I hope you had a happy holidays. And I'm happy to be back. Man, I got to tell you guys, we had some calls that came in for Matt. Matt was on the last episode. And we got also, man, I'm going to play this for you right now. We're going to talk to this gentleman either on Wednesday's episode or next month, or on Thursday or next Monday's episode. We're going to talk to this guy. He called in and hit the hotline. Some of you guys know one of my lines from my Netflix special, No Offense, is I wish people would quit shooting up movie theaters and start shooting up fucking Denny's restaurant, right? Well, here we got this call on the hotline. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My wife and I were watching your special on Netflix last week, and we both almost had heart attacks when you started talking about shooting up a Denny's, because when I was 19, I went to jail for shooting up a Denny's. It's a story I'd love to tell you.
There you go. You heard it. That gentleman went to jail for shooting up a Denny's. And hopefully we're going to talk to him. I've already confirmed that we're going to speak with him. He'll be our first live call. I don't know if that'll be on Wednesday or on Sunday, on Thursday's episode or on Sundays, but we're figuring that out. But I want to thank everybody for your support because, you know, it's helping me. I have an assistant now, Shy Chris, beautiful Latino gentleman, and he's helping. And Bud Galloway coming in, and that dude really has some issues. Bud has some real issues. But you guys' support on Patreon and support here by viewing is really helping, man. And Greyblock Pizza and everybody's support. And it's been awesome, man. So I'm super grateful. Yeah, what else, dude? Let's get into some things, huh? Let me think about what else happened to me this past weekend. I'm going to dinner tonight. I got some comedy shows with David Spade tonight for New Year's Eve at the Comedy Store. What else? I think I got four sets tonight, 4 or 5 sets. So I'm happy to put that down, get it done. I got a bad haircut, so I am pissed. I'm fucking pissed, bro. Dude, this lady, I went to fucking Floyd's, dude. I went to Floyd's, and I didn't go to my usual guy because it was one of those things where I wanted my haircut right then. You ever get that thing? Like your dude, or your lady, or your dude you go to get it cut, to get that chip out, to get that ship shape. They're not available. So I wanted to get primed up. You know, I was just feeling, you know, probably feeling less than or feeling defeated or something. I don't know, a little bit of some shit. And I was like, I need to get a haircut now. Go to Floyd's. Everybody's booked up. The man said it'd be a half hour. I'll wait. It's an hour and 10 minutes later. And I should have. And this lady said she'll take me. This lady looked like a fucking clown that couldn't get work. She had her hair was all dyed green in the middle, like she had a butt cut and then it was dyed green, right? I know my hair looks like shit, bruh. But she just had the worst fucking haircut. She had the worst haircut. She had on the thickest glasses ever. I'm like, there's no way. I wouldn't let this lady cut a yard. I wouldn't let her cut 100 acres of grass that didn't have because I would be afraid she'd hit a tree, even if there was no trees out in that grass. This broad would bring a tree in from somewhere and run that bitch over with a push mower, just because she just had that in her. And man, I still let her cut my hair. And dude, she thinned it out. I mean, I feel like a damn test animal. She clipped off some of the falls in the back and just made me furious, you know. I've just been so furious at this green mollusk that cut my hair. This far-sighted green mollusk that I let take a pair of scissors upside my head. And why I continue to make that choice year after year, letting some fucktard fucking dung muppet criminal do that to me. I mean, you just shouldn't be allowed to do shit that you can't do. There's no way this lady can cut hair. There's no fucking way. Dude, oh man, I wouldn't let this fucking lady cut a piece of paper with a sword. Dude, I'm just angry. I've been dealing with some of that anger. We got some good calls in and come in first. We're going to get to some news. Let's get to a little bit of news, man. Let's do that. I'll tell you this right here. This story is cool, bruh. A 34-year-old Washington man was caught giving a massage to a 14-year-old boy, then slipping him that $10 bill and a thank you note. The police were able to track down the man who was later found out to be the notorious Piggyback Bandit. whose claim to fame was tricking male high school athletes into giving him back rides. In an attempt to reform himself, he decided to instead to hand out massages at the airport to teenage boys and then slip them a note with a $10 bill in it. First of all, the fact that he was the piggyback ride bandit, I'm actually going to look this up even more because this story was ridiculous. The piggyback ride bandit, he was working at, this was in Montana, so I don't even know why it said that. The stocky man showed up in a basketball uniform for a game at Century High School in North Dakota. Players and coaches assumed he was a fan who had come with another team, so nobody objected when he began to pitch in around the bench. That is wild, bro. Like, that's a freaking next level pedophile. And I don't even know if this guy's, I mean, look, there's one thing, massaging an athlete, you know, some of these boys is strong. And you want to get out there and touch a tricep, you know? Or you want to feel around, you know, you want to fucking feel around a fucking young fella's femur. You know, I think there's a difference. There's a difference if you're doing it and you skeeting out. If you're going and hiding in a van afterwards, or, you know, putting your back against a tree in the woods, you know, and just flossing sauce onto the earth, that's different. But if you're just, you know, you want to touch a young buck and remember what it was like to be young, I mean, that's just a little bit of a vibe, I think. He makes himself appear as if he's limited or handicapped. Limited. We're all limited, man. Say what you mean. Is he wearing a fucking neck brace? Is he wearing a fucking dick holster? You know, does he have his legs tied together? What's he fucking doing? I hate it when reporters are so vague. We didn't realize what we were dealing with until several days later. The piggyback bandit, Sherwin Shayegan of Bothell, Washington. Okay, he's from Washington. 28-year-old man who integrates himself with high school sports teams, then hoists his 5'8", 240-pound frame onto the backs of the student athletes. So I guess he gets in with the teams, it seems like. Then he asks the players for piggyback rides. Man, I got to say respect to this dude. This is the Rudy Rudiger of pedophiles right here. You know, he's out there just looking for he's probably really looking for male companionship. Like in a way where, you know, a brotherly, you know, and it probably is, if he's got a little bit of that tism, or if he's got a, you know, if he's wearing that, you know, if he's one of God's favorites, then he might be, you know, he might be expressing it in weird ways. He's pretended to interview athletes for a term paper, acted as a team manager, or just tried to blend in with the crowd for a piggyback payoff. He's been nicknamed the Piggyback Bandit. He has a lengthy criminal rap sheet in Washington. Dang. And that's Washington. You got to probably do some wild shit up in Washington to get a rap sheet, because it's mostly the woods, you know? Mostly a lot of shit you could chalk up to Mother Nature. You know, if you out there, you know, if you out there giving fellatio to a lamb, you could probably say, look, I'm just trying to stay organic, you know? You know, from farm to tongue. That's what this meal is, from farm to tongue. Somebody said this, an executive director at the Montana High School Sports Association. What's disturbing to me is that he is jumping on our young athletes. He is 240 pounds and he can hurt someone. Yeah, well, not if your athlete's got some balls in their sacks, Mark. Mark out here with this bullshit. Put your boys in the gym, Mark. Let me tell you this, Mark. If your student athletes can't carry around a handicapped fella on their back, then they're probably not going to make it in athletics. Why don't you just call them students then, instead of student athletes? In October, Shayegan was arrested in Helena, Montana for jumping on two unsuspecting high school soccer players during a state tournament, boy. Woo-woo! Boy, that's that, when you try to do that two-person crowd surfing. That's that two-person crowd surfing. That's all Shayegan's doing. Man, that's a wild surprise when somebody doesn't know you about to crowd surf. and then you just jump on top of them at 240. Woo, woo! That's America, boy. What else they have here? He pled guilty on February 1st to 2 misdemeanor assault charges. Man, I'm sorry. This dude's got me laughing so hard. The judge told him, go back to Seattle and behave. That's what the judge told him. Judge Bob Wood. I like that, man. Another game he showed up at, they said, I think at one point he was giving water to individuals. Well, he's helping out. You know who else does that? Mother Nature. Mother Nature gives water to individuals. And if she jumped on your back, or she tried to touch your thigh a little bit, or squeeze around that soft skin around the behind your knee in the little fold of your leg right there, you're going to call the cops on her? No, you're not gonna. So won't you think about things? You know, before you guys just reporting this dude who probably is afflicted, you know? Come on, man, give this guy a break. Oh, man, sorry. I just caught one more quote in this story. It said he was jumping on players' backs after they showered and came out of the locker room. Now, that's pretty gangster. That's pretty gangster, man, because it's hard to jump on a wet person's back. It's hard to, because if somebody wet, you could slip off them. And it's hard to land and hold on to a wet person. We used to play a game like that, when we would grease each other up sometimes. And this was right before it got real hot. Around the last cold front of the year, we would put oil or get that can of Crisco. They used to have, before everybody started having olive oil, they had this thing called Crisco. It was a can of white, like hard sauce. And your mother would have it or your grandparents would have it, and they could do anything with it. I mean, they could fix the car. They could, they could spackle in a wall hole. I mean, you could do anything with this shit. You could fill a cavity. You could start a cavity. You could fix your hair. I mean, my buddy's uncle used to gel down his neck hair. He had so much neck hair, he would gel it down, just straight down into his chest hair. And he used to do that sometime with Crisco. But when we were kids, we would put Crisco all over our bodies, and we'd get out there in the yard and tackle each other and play football. And that was always the funnest time, that game, when people would do that. But man, that's a wild story, and that's the piggyback ride bandit strikes again. That's what that story was. And we'll share this clip out on the YouTube, this clip alone. Apple admitted they're slowing down the iPhones. You heard that? What a bunch of shit. These companies, man, it's just fucked up. They're already making so much money, and they're going to fuck people like that. I hope if North Korea shoots something, it hits somebody like that. It hits one of these companies that's just taking advantage of the masses. Because I don't think it's right. There's nothing more, because that ruins everything. You're a mother trying to keep in touch with your kids. You're trying to keep in touch with a loved one. You're trying to watch a video, your family, and it just slows your whole life down a little bit. And when we all know it. We all know, like, suddenly your phone, everybody's phone just doesn't work. The update screws it up. Man, I hope if they fire a missile, boy, land one over there. Whoever made that decision, land it right in their ass. Put a little Crisco on that sucker. And if it doesn't blow up and it's just lodged in their butt, send in my boy Shay Egan, that piggyback bandit. And let him get that hitter, boy. What else? That's all we got, man, in that. We had a lot of call-ins. And now our last full episode, we had a guy named Matt call in. And I'm going to say it, Fat Matt. Matt was calling in saying he had some eating issues. He also said he doesn't like to drink water. Plain water. It was his actual term, which is just water. And I'm not calling him Fat Matt to make fun of him. I'm just saying, look, if your name's Matt and you're thicker, we've all been bullied somehow, dude. My name's Theo, right? They called me P.O. Theo because I wet the bed, right? Well, you're thinking, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I went to bed till I was 30, bro, 30. So, we all got something. If you're Cindy and you got a lot of body gas, they call you Wendy Cindy. If you're Mark and you're an arsonist, they call you Spark Mark. If your name is if your name is fucking, if your name is Tyson and you date Asian chicks, they call you Rice and Tyson. Rice and Tyson. Or if you use ricin, like they use in Breaking Bad to poison people, they call you Rice and Tyson. I'm just saying they all have, we all got these shady little, everybody's got something. So this fellow was called Matt. That's his name, unless it was an assumed name. And Matt, I thank you for calling, man. I've never had the issue of too much weight. I've had the issue of being skinny. That sucks too. I feel like you're just as afraid to take your shirt off when you're skinny at the pool. And you look like, somebody that came out of an internment camp, or like you look like somebody that just got released from some prison where they don't feed you. So I can't relate 100%, but I can relate in feeling inferior or feeling different. But we had some advice that came in for you, Matt, and I want to put that into a segment right here for you. And so here we go.
What's up, Theo? I wanted to call in and offer some advice for the fat dude. Yeah, man, you definitely sound like a fat dude.
Ooh. Man, this guy coming in hot right there. And Matt, I'm not siding with this guy. He calling you the fat dude. I'm not siding with that. But look, he's being. It sounds like he's being poignant. Let's hear what he's got to say.
You mentioned you don't like plain water, so that makes me think you're drinking soda, and you can't be doing that, man. Sugar, wheat, and refined carbs are very bad for us, and I don't think we should be eating them at all. I think we should just be eating those cooked meats and basically protein and fats, man. I want you to start waking up in the morning and going for a walk on an empty stomach, man.
Well, you got some points there, and that might be some of the hard truth right there, Matt, if you're listening to this, but that's real. Going for a walk on an empty stomach, eating cooked meats. Get out there, boy. Fill your mouth with a cut of that dove. Try something fancy. Try a hard salami. Try something wild. Have some rabbit. Get a fucking cut of vark off the internet. Hit you up with some aardvark. They got sites that sell it. Eat that elk. Or get you a fine turkey meat. Do so. I'm saying if you want to change, you called in about the change. This guy's giving you some hard truth here. And that's why I'm gonna let him ride it. Let's keep going onward.
Man, put on Theo's podcast and go for an hour-long walk in the morning. And what that's gonna do is that's just gonna speed up your insides. Basically, that's gonna make everything a little bit faster in there throughout the day and speed up your metabolism.
And there you go. That's a life hack right there. And thank you for calling with that advice. He's dropping it on you. And I kind of wish that fella could have said a little bit more, maybe had a little more compassion in it. Like, look, Matt, I understand. I have this issue, and here's maybe some suggestion. But he wanted to hit you straight. He wanted to give you that hitter, man. He wanted to gray block you, and that's what happened. You got that. So that's some advice right there. He's saying get your motor going before you put gas in it. So that way, when the gas goes in, you already burning. You burning before you start churning. And that's that. Let's hear a little bit more, Matt. I want to give you a couple more callers that hit the hotline. And the hotline is 985-664-9503. And it's a hotline where if I can relate to any young men out there or women, but this isn't a man show, but this show has started off where we offer basic life suggestions for adult men. And that's if it's something I can relate to, I'll share my experience. So you're not having to experience it alone. And if I can't, sometimes I'll present it out to the audience and see if other men can help you out, or other women. This isn't just men, but this is predominantly men. Onward.
Hey, Theo, it's your boy Andrew from Minnesota, and I'm just calling.
Andrew from Minnesota. Minnesota, one of the states where you're least likely to get pink eye. Did you know that? You do now.
In regards to Matt, if you have some problems with addiction and food, this is what worked for me when I went on my last diet. Now, I think it'd be beneficial if you cut off eating until you're really actually hungry. Now, that's something that I think a lot of people overlook is they think they're hungry, but they're really just craving food. You really just want to eat something.
Man, I feel that, and I can relate to that even, because I'll notice if I get up in the morning and I eat immediately something big, it's just a habit, you know? I find that I get my most work done and most effectively if I don't even eat until lunchtime. I mean, I'm skittish around. I mean, look, I'll be honest. By then, I've had 2 or 3 coffees, and I'm skittish, and I almost want to probably cry or take a nap and call my mom. But I've gotten some stuff done. Let's hear more.
Just go on a mini fast, and then guess what? You're going to be so hungry that salad, that can of tuna, that chicken thigh that's got nothing on it but a little salt and pepper, that's going to start looking really good, man. You're not going to be able to lie to me and tell me that that's not going to start looking good. You got to get really hungry, man.
Ooh, I like that. He's saying you got to David Copperfield that gut. So if your gut sees something, of course. If my gut wakes up and is lurking around and see a hot cake, see a little dish of syrup, then my gut is going to jump on that, right? But if my gut gets burning, if I take a 10-minute walk, if I take a little stroll around or get moving and my gut's burning, and then I wait 2 hours, then that hunger built up. That hunger back there flexing back behind you, boy. That hunger is peeking out, it's peeking out from behind your spine and, dropping out of your asshole and peeking around from under your nuts. Because that hunger starts looking for something. Then you're not living off a habit. You're living off of hunger. And that's when you'll eat an apple. That's when you'll have just a small stack of cheese. Or that's when you'll have just a little, even just mix some salt and pepper in your hand and take that. That's what we used to have when I was young, man. And they used to call that a coal miner's cigarette. When you would just mix salt and pepper in your hand and just have it like that real fast. And a lot of coal miners used to do that because they couldn't smoke down in the mines because sometimes they had natural gas in there. So they'd have that coal miner's cigarette. They'd take a little salt, a little pepper, sometimes even a little bit of snuff. Put it in there, circle it around in their hand, take it to the pipe. Throw that shit down your throat, get spicy and get salty and get twisty off that snuff powder. Let's hear a little more.
Actually hungry. You can't be craving food. You have to actually be hungry. A lot of people say they're hungry. They're just craving food.
Boom. That's true. That boy's on it. He's on it like a hornet. That boy will sting your sister. That boy will leave a baby in your family. You know what I'm saying? That gentleman right there, you could tell he gets in, he's effective, and he gets out. That's that freelance Tony Robbins right there, that gentleman. What was his name?
Hey, Theo, it's your boy, Andrew.
That was Andrew. That was wild Andrew out there. Just firing, boy. It's a sniper. Here's the facts, Jack. One more call for you, Matt.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Anthony. Just want to leave a quick comment about Matt from Cleveland, who's having a tough time eating healthy food. And
thanks for calling. More?
And prefers non-plain water. I think the thing that Matt needs to do first is to quit being a little pussy-ass bitch. And I don't mean that to be funny. So, I don't know. That's my advice. Peace out. Hope it helps, Matt.
Damn. And that's gutter right there. He just said, quit being a pussy-ass bitch. And sometimes, dude, and I'll say this. So with the new assistant, I'm not hearing these calls before. So this is the first time that I'm hearing these calls in their entirety. If it's one that I need to have some reference point on, I will. But so this is the first time I'm hearing this. I think that's, that's sometimes we have to hear that. Sometimes you have to have somebody tell you the fucking truth. Because we're out here living in this sauce, this and that. But there's effective ways to do it. Sometimes there's more effective ways than just calling somebody a pussy, and fucking, cutting their back open and putting fucking, glitter in their wounds, But there's ways to do it, But sometimes we just have to fucking hear it. All right, what else? Oh man, I know everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming on the Hampin' Ain't Easy tour last year. And we got this call that came in on the hotline right here, this fella. Let's go.
Hey, Theo. My name's Austin. I'm from Oregon up here, just south of Portland. So one night I was working on the farm that I live on, and I'm working away, and I heard you on your other podcast, allegedly, talking about hamster farms. And
Yep, I grew up in a hamster breeding area, and that's true there, Austin. I grew up in the stray animal belt. Let's hear more. And also, I'm going to be in Portland, actually. I want to tell you guys that. I forgot. I'm going to be in Portland at Harvey's Comedy Club, and that will be on February 8th through the 11th at Harvey's in Portland, Oregon. Not Maine, in Oregon. Portland, Oregon at Harvey's. All right, let's hear more.
just south of Portland. So one night I was working on the farm that I live on, and I'm working away, and I heard you on your other podcast, allegedly, talking about hamster farms. And I thought it was crazy because I live on a hamster ranch. I was right in the middle of feeding hamsters. I was kind of freaking out. I just in there by myself, feeding hamsters, listening to you talk about hamsters.
That's beautiful, boy. That's beautiful. He out there. So everybody been thinking over time that I'm not coming at you with the reality of things. That I didn't grow up in a hamster breeding area. That I wasn't raised in the stray animal belt. Well, get with me. Let's hear more.
So I started looking into it more, like, what's the deal with hamsters? What's with Theo and hamsters? Thought it was pretty funny. I was feeding hamsters, and randomly you were talking about hamsters, and live on this hamster ranch at night. And I don't know what I'd do without you guys' podcasts. And every night when I'm feeding baby hamsters, I'm listening to, allegedly, listen to all the old back episodes and new ones when they come out. And if you're ever in need of a hamster ranch sponsor, or if you're ever in the Portland area next, maybe we can negotiate something with the hamsters, or just a tour or something.
100%, Austin. 100% I'll be hitting you up when I come into town over that weekend. And that's February 8th through the 11th, Harvey's in Portland, Oregon. Maybe we'll even get a couple of listeners out to it as well. You know, maybe we'll do something special. I'll be in touch with you. I appreciate that. And you know that man, if you can't think of something to bring you joy, people, if you can't think of something to bring you joy, know that man out there feeding them little hamsters. He out there feeding them little hamsters at nighttime. One man doing all of that work. And that is a small God. That man is a small God. Those little mouths. And he feeding them water. He feeding them milk. He feeding them sugar water. Man, that's beautiful. Thank you for calling, Austin. Thank you for calling. A lot of cool stuff on this episode. Happy New Year to you guys. Do I have some resolutions? Yeah, I got some resolutions. They're just general, you know. Still battling with trying to quit smoking. I'd had 14 days of no smoking. And then I got something happened after a comedy show, and I just felt irritable and discontent. And then I smoked a cigarette. And then I probably had 2 cigarettes a day since then. So, you know, I'm flirting with quitting, but it's just not there yet. But I'm trying. Outside of that, I want to get back in shape this year. I want to try to get in shape. So I can relate to you, Big Matt. I can relate to you other people. I'm trying to get in shape as well. And those are really my New Year's resolutions. They're general. And just continue to try to, learn a little bit more about myself. And then just try and, I don't know. Just let go of my will and let go of my ego. And to get better at comedy. Those are my goals. We had some callers that came in calling with a couple of issues, and we're going to get this one. And if you guys have any thoughts, this seems like one. I haven't heard it yet. But this is from Danielle. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My name is Danielle. I am 25 and a virgin. Not by choice, but due to lack of takers throughout the years.
Well, this sounds like Danielle is reading this like she wrote it in advance. And that's okay. Let's back up a little bit and keep playing it. Here we go.
Not by choice, but due to lack of takers throughout the years.
Okay, so Danielle is still a virgin due to lack of takers. Are you trapped somewhere, Danielle? Let's hear more.
I think it's a rarity in this day and age to be 25 and a virgin, and I worry it will be a turnoff for any guy when he finds out, and that only heightens my insecurity about it. So I would just love some insight into this pickle of a situation from a male sensual connoisseur such as yourself. Thanks.
Well, that's a while when you're 25, you're still a virgin. because of any male takers. It does seem wild in this area because they got some fellas out there. You know, you would think most fellas would. I mean, it definitely makes you nervous, I think, as a man, because you got that. First of all, you're that. You sending in that initial thistle. So you're gonna be, you feeding that first dolphin. This is gonna be the first time your little dolphin gets fed. When you catching a little bit of D from somebody. And does it turn men off? I mean, I would just wonder if you feel like you have to tell them. I guess you probably do because you want, the guy to know if you're working in, in a novice universe. Sorry, somebody just rang the doorbell, making sure everything's okay. Yeah, like you want everybody to know that, that there's wet paint, if you will. So that's something you probably want them to know. But is it turning men off? Is it a turn off? I think it's exciting to some men. There's something in in a man that wants to get that, that wants to get that squirrel in his mouth. Sometimes you don't want to buy the beef jerky. Sometimes you want that raw meat. And so a lot of men are going to be thinking like that. That's a tough one. I don't know. How would I feel if a girl told me that? If I didn't care about her at all, I would be like, do I want to go here? Do I want to have sex with this girl just to get some cut up, just to get some hot wallet? Do I want to do that? Because then I'm going to be burdened on my conscience with that I did that just for my own take. And at 17, 16, 15, 18, it's a little different because, I mean, at that age, you're just running around with an erection. You'll fuck anything. I mean, you will put your dick in anything. You'd put it into a sharp vagina even if somebody told you you had a chance of not getting cut. I mean, it's just it's different back then. And you're not thinking about the repercussions or if anybody's feelings are involved. Around 25, if you're going to date a man at least your own age or lose your virginity to a man of at least your own age, then that man he might be questioning some things. He might be wondering. He might be worried about if he's going to feel bad if he's just trying to, take your virginity. If he's just trying to steal that squeal. So that's a tough one. And you know what? I'm going to put that out to our callers. If you guys have any thoughts or suggestions for Danielle there, send them in. Still a virgin at 25. Let's hear the end of it again so I know exactly what she's asking.
So I would just love some insight into this pickle of a situation from a male.
Okay, a little further back.
In this day and age to be 25 and a virgin, and I worry it will be a turnoff for any guy when he finds out. And
I mean, look, but then now as I'm thinking about it a little bit more, it's starting to turn me on a little. So there you go with a man. At first, maybe I'm a little bit considerate about it, but then after a while, that's the dog is getting out, At first, I'll show you the parakeets out front. You'll see the pretty birds, but in the back, they got that dog. And he's starting to stretch, and he's starting, So now I'm thinking it'd be nice to get out in there and get that hitter from you. So I'd love to, if you guys have any suggestions for or ladies, 985-664-9503. Actually, I think that's more of a question for guys. Is it a turnoff? I mean, it's exciting. It's adventurous. It's your first time. A man, want to be a part of that. There's something limbic in a man. You want to be that first ride. You want to be that first Ferris wheel. Because also as a man, if we're no good, then you don't know. You have no idea. You're going to think no matter what that we're the best. So I'll tell you this, for a dude that's that, I'm that professional bull rider out there, I'm 8 seconds Ernie. I'm not that long song. I'm that prelude. I'm that fainting goat, boy. When it comes to sex, I'm that fainting goat. I'm not that sprinter. I mean, I am that sprinter. I'm not that long distance warlord. So for a guy like me or more guys like me, yeah. Guys that know that we're not that, I'm not Thor. I'm Thurman, you know, or I'm Thornton. You know, I'm somebody nerdier than Thor when it comes to that sex, you know, to being out in that crotch. So there you go. But guys, if you got any suggestions or thoughts for her, let her know. One more call right here. Let's take it. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My name is Marissa. I'm calling from the state of Michigan. I'm 21 years old.
Thank you for calling, Marissa from Michigan.
I actually have a question. Essentially, the lowdown is that I'm kind of insecure given that I know that he has a lot more sexual experience than I do. Like, I've never felt insignificant or incompetent. I've always been pretty confident that, I'm good and bad, like, whatever. This guy, like, I know, like, the level of tail that he has been able to drag in, if you will. I know all these stories and stuff, and we're friends, and it doesn't bother me hearing them, and I don't, like, part of me is like, yeah, man, you get it. Now that we're kind of dating, it makes me a little bit worried. I wonder, am I not up to the standard? Am I not, I'm certainly not some Vegas porn star who does it for a living. I'm just a little amateur off to the side here doing what you can.
Well, look, you could be a freelance Fräulein and show up with some real skills. And I think this is an opportunity you can surprise this dude. Because you're saying he thinks he got all the magic. You're saying he thinks he got the artillery and he got the archery bows. And he bringing wild antics into the bedroom. And he going to, do a backflip and land into that hussy. I don't know. This one you can bring something wild in. Bring you a toy or something. Hide something in his butt. Sneak something in. Fill his mouth with cabbage and, and fucking choke him while y'all having sex. Tickle that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Surprise him with some of your skills. Because those skills can be anything. Put glitter in your mouth and give him that blowjob. He'll never forget you. Because it's going to take him a month to get that glitter off his wang. Hide a little bit of put a little bit of glitter in your pocket. Get that pinch. Hide it in between his ass. Between his ass cheeks. Butt party, baby. I'm feeling weak in the cheeks. Butt party. You bring some magic. Just because you ain't bouncing that ass, just because you ain't bouncing that ass like a Cadillac in a Snoop Dogg video, doesn't mean you can't show up and do something crazy. While he's fucking, you turn around and fucking kick him. Now who's a badass in here? Now who's got tricks? See if he can fuck when he can't even catch his breath. Then we'll see if he's a Conor McGregor or not. Or we'll see if he's just a Larry McGregor. Or a Dirk McGregor. Somebody you don't know or never heard of. So that's what I'm saying. Bring your own tricks into the bedroom, darling. See what he's got. See what he's got. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this past weekend for the new year. We are going to have our first caller call in. We're going to talk to your boy who shot up that Denny's, right?
Hey, Theo. My wife and I were watching your special on Netflix last week, and we both almost had heart attacks when you started talking about shooting up a Denny's, because when I was 19, I went to jail for shooting up a Denny's.
Well, I bet who had heart attacks was the people who pretty much almost, if they did, caught them bullets from you. So I'm curious to hear more about that and learn more about that. We're going to try to have that on Thursday's episode. Otherwise, we'll do it next week. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this past weekend. Thank you guys for the support. I'll see you in some of these upcoming shows. Brea, California, Jacksonville, Florida, Oxnard, La Jolla, Indio, California, Portland, Oregon, and Tampa, Florida over in the next 5 months. More shows will be added soon. You can get a new this past weekend Onward shirt at theovon.com/store. And he was... he had a little bit of the affliction, kind of. He was one of God's favorites, really. He was half angel, half person. Had a hit of that tism, and he would have to stay under a blanket all the time. He was afraid to be outside of a blanket, and so Tot had an easy name. He was, granted an easy name, so it'd be easy for him to spell. Hard to forget. Tot, T-O-T, same thing, backward forward. That's Tot, but that's Jesse Lucero one more time. And this is that music. If you're like maybe if you're like a gay guy getting chased by like a barbarian, But then the gay guy morphs into like a 1990s metal rocker unicorn with long hair and just fucking attacks the barbarian. And then they end up banging probably and moving to a sanctuary city, you know. Good to be here with you guys. Welcome to this past Thursday. Man, I'm fired up. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate that I have some upcoming dates. January 5th, that's coming up ASAP. I'll be in Santa Clarita on Main Street at Comedy Mashup. You can Google that and find those tickets. 11th through the 14th, I'll be at the Brea Improv of January. January 18th through 20th, the New Comedy Club in Jacksonville, Florida. February 16th through 18th, La Jolla, California. February 22nd through the 24th, Indio, California at Fantasy Springs Casino, and April 6th and 7th in Tampa at Rock Brothers Brewing. Oh, good to be here with you guys, you know. That's how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling good. We did a little bit of yoga yesterday. And I like yoga, man. I like yoga until the teacher, the teacher in ours is like this really acrobatic homoerotic gentleman. And he might be gay, might not be gay. We might all be gay. You know what I'm saying? A special hit of lightning hits the earth and it might shake everybody's shells up a little. And next thing you know, you out there blowing the neighbor for powdered milk. You know? The dicky dust bowl is only a couple of, lightning strikes away. We don't know what the future holds. But I know that this gentleman was was being homoerotic in there, and we're in there in the yoga studio, and he, it's a good class until the end of the class is basically just him doing tricks, and it's like all this stuff that you can't do, and he's stretching, and he's got his asshole wrapped around his shoulders, and he's just, he's wearing his earlobes as fucking. He's got his earlobes tied around each one of his nuts. And it's just, he's in these poses that you can't duplicate. He's at another level. And that's when I don't like it, because then it's just about him. It's like at that point, he's just, he's tricked us all into stretching for 40 minutes so that he can have a crowd to be around him. So that's when it's a little wild for me. But I did that. I felt a little bit better. I hit an AA meeting last night. I needed that. I needed that hit. And I'll probably go to one. I'll go to one tomorrow morning. I might go again tonight. Because, I'm out there. I'm out there in those staying dry streets right now. I want to get to a call. This is going to be our first. This is a special episode because this is the first live call that we've ever done. I'm thankful to Corey. He just came on board to help us out. And he's like a little bit of that. He got that Wizard of Oz in him a little bit, He's out there in these electric streets, He knows what's going on with electricity and how to manage it, and digital video management. He's like a peeping Tom, but he's not doing the work. He's making these cameras do the work. So he's like an overseer of these little electric peeping Tomers that we got out here from Canon and Panasonic. And thank you to the Patreoners for helping us get a new camera and get things rocking and get things rolling. But we got our first call, and this was a gentleman that called in on the Monday episode. He called in. There's a part in my comedy special on Netflix where I talk about shooting up a Denny's. I'm going to play that for you right now.
Y'all got Denny's here? Fuck Denny's, bro. Fuck Denny's, man. I wish people would quit shooting up movie theaters and shoot up a fucking Denny's, okay? Because if you...
Now, that part is in my comedy special, right? And then we got this call from him on the hotline, and this was a call that came in right here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My wife and I were watching your special on Netflix last week, and we both almost had heart attacks when you started talking about shooting up a Denny's, because when I was 19, I went to jail for shooting up a Denny's. It's a story I'd love to tell you.
Wow, that's the dark arts right there, boy. And we're gonna call him right now. It's gonna be our first live call, and we're gonna hear the story. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are. I'm grateful that we came this far, because to me, this is a big deal. You know, you're talking to a man who, if a camera doesn't work, I'll get some color pencils and take a sketch pad with me. You know, I'll stay old fashioned if I have to. You know, I'll send a homing pigeon out there. Hell, I'll send a nightingale. You know, with a little bit of graffiti on his leg. You know, I'm okay with going old fashioned. So to be this high tech right now, and be doing this, man, I'm keyed up. Well, I'm hopped up, boy. This is that digital cocaine right here. Here we go. It's ringing.
Hello.
Fuck Denny's, man. I wish people would quit shooting up movie theaters
You there?
and shoot up a fucking Denny's, okay?
Hey, brother, it's Theo.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going, man?
It's good. How are you? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, well, look, it's good to hear from you. You know, assuming that obviously your release date, we got your call on the hotline, and I appreciate you calling, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast.
Always, man. Big fan.
Well, thank you very much. You said you and your wife were checking out the Netflix and saw the bit about Denny's, and if you don't mind, will you just take us from there?
Yeah. We were watching the Netflix special and got to that point, and man, we just looked at each other and almost fell over because it was it brought me back, and when. I'll just tell you from the beginning.
So you were part of shooting up a Denny's. Is this?
Yeah,
okay.
Wow. Yeah. I was.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's it's dark to be laughing at this, but this is the dark arts, and sometimes the dark arts brings people together. You know, sometimes it brings people together. You know.
And we are together.
We are.
Yeah.
We are, and I'm nervous. And look, I'm excited. This is my first call that we've ever had in on this past weekend. So,
well, I'm certainly nervous about that. Jeez, man.
Well, look, I don't think you could tell us a more heartwarming story, though. You know, because sometimes people got to pop off at a Denny's. You know, we've all wanted to, and so tell me what happened, man.
Okay. Well. Let me just start from the beginning. When I was 14 years old, I had my sister, who was like a couple years older than I am. She had a boyfriend who was in the military, and again, she was 16 years old.
Oh, so he was older.
Much older.
Wow.
I never really knew how old he was, but he was in the military, and you know, he only hung around with her for about a year or so. But
were they in love? Do you think, if you look back on it?
No. Well,
she might have been.
You know, she might have been. I have no idea.
Right.
But she might have been. You never know.
Yeah. So your sister's dating this fella.
She's dating this fella. I'm 14 years old, maybe 13. I'm not exactly sure.
You're just a sapling out there, and you're young too, man. You're probably coming into your own at that age a little bit.
No, I was. That was a long way away before I was ever coming in my own.
Are you still a novice? You still out there tadpoling? You heavy poling out there?
Most certainly.
Yeah, I've been out there, man.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer for sure.
Yeah.
And this guy, I'll call Rambo, because to me at the time, he was a badass. He was Rambo.
He didn't wear the eye glass. He wore the eye black under his eyes and stuff at dinner, or like that kind of deal.
No eye black.
Yeah, because I can't imagine. Because I'm picturing a dude like, you know, elbow crawling across your living room, you know, to try and spend time with your sister.
But you know, he made it sound like that to me.
Right.
You know, to me, he made himself out to be this, you know, just killer.
Yeah. So you really looked up to him, it sounds like.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought he was the best.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, he just disappears, and you know, my life goes on, and you know, I'm sad for a while, but things go on and things change. But, you know, here comes 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Adam's 19 years old, and I don't remember how he came back into my life, but he did, and ends up hanging out with me and my friends. And the key figures in the story are myself, Rambo, and my buddy Too Dark Mark.
Too Dark Mark.
Okay, Too Dark Mark.
And I'm guessing he wasn't. Was he in the BP oil spill, or we're talking about a brother?
A brother. He's
Okay.
certainly a brother. He's certainly a great fella, and I can't, you know, I can't say too much of great things about him. He's an awesome dude.
And Too Dark, you just mean he just has dark skin?
Dark skin.
Yeah.
Can't see him. Can't see him.
Yeah,
Can't
secret
see him
in
in
a way.
yeah.
It can
Can't
keep
see
a
him in the
secret.
daylight.
Oh yeah, a real super black person can keep a secret, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
So-
tough because we're all on the spectrum. Some people are almost see-through and you can see their veins, you can see their heartbeat a little bit. Sometimes they'll eat lunch and you can almost see it kind of going under their skin a little bit. And then you
Yeah.
have the other end of the spectrum where people are so dark. You know, they usually end up being soccer players, I feel like, in Britain, but that's just that's my evaluation. But yes, onward, take us more.
Yeah. Rambo,
Mhm.
Too Dark Mark, and myself, we're hanging out, and we decide that we want to go play pool. Well, they two decide that they want to go play pool one night, and
And you're tagging
I
along.
I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to go, but Rambo intimidates me into going.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to go because I've already got the feeling. He just came back from Desert Storm.
Yeah.
You know,
Then you
this was the
go.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
you know,
before PTSD when people, you didn't even know what they were. It was just wild. And,
right.
and they came back home with,
Exactly.
if that person asked you to do something who just came back from service, you always did. It didn't matter, you know?
Right.
You always did
Yep.
it.
And so I went. You know, we're going to go play pool. I begrudgingly agree, and we get in Too Dark Mark's car, and we go to Rambo's house to pick up the pool cues. But, you know, when we get there, and I have no idea that when we get there that they pick up the pool cues, not only do they pick up the pool cues, but they also pick up a couple of handguns.
Ooh, boy, couple heaters, huh?
Yes.
Nice, bro.
Some rockets.
Yeah, a couple of freaking hand rockets, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They pick them up. They didn't tell me because I'm in the back seat.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
tells the back seat guy. Nobody tells the back seat guys anything.
No, in a
right?
drive-by, usually the backseat guy is the guy that's with the look on his face like, what the fuck's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So you guys cruise off. You got the pieces. You're going to play pool.
Right. We're driving down the street.
Mm-hmm.
We drive past Denny's, and I see my girl, who is a friend, and I'm saying that because my wife is in the other room, and I want to make sure she knows that nothing ever happened.
Understood.
And my car is there at Denny's, and we decide to stop. Of course, you see your car somewhere, you're going to stop.
Yeah, of course.
I'm hungry. We're going to hang out. We're going to eat a little bit. We stop. We pull over. We stop, and we eat a little bit. We hang out, talk. And by this point, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and we're done. We decide we're going to leave, pay our bill, get up, walk out, get in the car, and we get in the car. Of course, again, I'm in the back seat.
Right.
Driving off.
So you got that Denny's. Y'all hopped up on Denny's. Y'all leaving.
I'm fat, full, and sleepy.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? I'm fat, full, and sleepy. They still want to go play pool.
Oh, yeah.
We never go play pool, but we're pulling out.
Mm-hmm.
Before I know it, Too Dark Mark and Rambo are leaning out the car,
Uh-huh.
shooting the signs and the windows and the glass with the guns that they never told me that they had pulled out.
Right. So,
And
they just start popping off at this Denny's.
they start popping the Denny's off and just lighting the place up.
Wow. And you're telling me
And-
that you didn't know a dude named Rambo and Too Dark Mark would shoot up a Denny's, bro?
I didn't know that they were going to be doing it right then at the same time. I thought they had gotten it out of their system in the military.
Wow. Well, that, you know, we don't have enough. They should put more Denny's out there in the desert, you know. And
yeah.
So then you guys take off. So now you're.
Well, no, I'm yelling, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one thing I didn't say earlier was that earlier in the day, Rambo had been wearing the stupid leather fedora that looked like something out of Indiana Jones. Not even worn and dusty or anything, just brand new off the shelf at Sears.
Damn. And where is this? What area of the country is this in?
This is Dallas, Texas.
Oh, hell yeah, boy. Pop, pop. Now, are people running
Texas.
when they're shooting? Like, are people running and scared, or what's going on?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm caught up in the fact that these fools are shooting. You know, I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
I'm scared shitless.
Are you excited? Now, you said you're scared. I could get that 100%. Is there after they pull the guns in the car, is there a little bit of excitement?
Maybe there's a little bit of, yeah, I'm a badass. Maybe a tiny bit of that.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I mean, this is this is before that video game. What's the video game that everybody plays?
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, this is before that.
This is real life Grand Theft Auto at Denny's.
Wow. Man, that's amazing, man.
And so he's got this stupid hat on, and he's leaning out the window at the same time driving, both of them. The car's moving forward. They're shooting.
Yeah.
Wind catches the fucking hat, right?
Oh, yeah. Wind hates hats.
Wind hates hats, especially large brim hats.
Ugh.
It
So
catches,
French,
it lifts, it causes a lift, and it raises the car up a little bit, and raises his head up and off his head, and it flies off, and he starts yelling, "Go back for the hat! Go back for the hat!" And I'm yelling, "No, don't go back for the hat! Don't go back for the hat!"
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything about anything, they know that at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning at Denny's, there's police there.
Yeah, this is the most French ending to a Rambo movie ever. There's a shooting, and you go back for the most homoerotic hat ever, a fedora. A fedora, dude. There is nothing more. That is so French, bro. So how does it end, man? Tell us how it ends.
Okay, so it ends by, well, there's still a little bit left.
Okay.
Okay. I'm saying don't go back. He's saying go back. Two Dark Mark stops the car, puts it in reverse, goes back. I realize I have no choice but to get out and get the fucking hat. I open the door. I see the hat. I reach my hand out, pull it up, grab it, pull it up, bring it in the hat, and I sit back up only to see police lights everywhere.
Wow.
And before I knew it, there was a boot and a shotgun in the back of my head and neck.
Wow.
I was on the floor, on the ground, and...
What were they saying? Were they nice or not nice?
Oh, no, they were not nice. They were, certainly shouting expletives and get the fuck on the ground and, taking advantage of their positions in the world.
Those badge balls. They had badge balls, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And now did you notice, because it sounds like you and Rambo were white or Caucasian, and that Two Dark Mark seems like he might have been a little more urban. Was there any favoritism there? No, or it seemed just even across the board?
No, because we lived in, we lived in the ghetto.
Right.
And I know you know.
Yeah.
This is where
everybody's
we
a
grew
piece
up.
of shit over there, yeah.
Everybody's a piece of shit, yeah. So
wow, so you got shot up the fucking
new.
Denny's.
Yeah.
Anybody die? Anybody get hurt?
No. Well, I never heard.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And the fucked up thing about it was my girlfriend was in there. And these fools still did it.
Dang, dude, that's so Ray Caruth, bro. That sounds like like that. God, that's such a. You shot up a Denny's with your girlfriend in it, man. That's love, bro. In some places, that is true love. You know,
that's true romance.
It's like if you let something go and it comes back to you, then it's meant to be. I think that is the definition of that.
Right. Okay, so I go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They arrest me, and them being in the military,
mm-hmm.
their commanding officers, they call them, and immediately they're snatched up out of the jails in no time. They spend maybe an hour in jail, right?
Wow.
Of course, and I'm terrified in jail, and this is I go straight downtown Dallas, and it is Uncle Lou. It's
like what a lot of like, you know, people that were like train robbers and stuff like that type of people, or thugs?
Thugs. I mean, nothing but thugs.
Do you have to watch anybody take a shit in there? Like, if you're in there, is there one toilet, or what's that like?
Yeah, it was a stainless steel toilet. Stainless steel toilet with.
What do you do? Were you afraid to use the bathroom?
I don't think I shat or pissed once.
Yeah, I would cough it up if I had to. There's no way I would sit down.
For 24 hours, I didn't shit or piss or eat or anything.
Oh, I would cough all the shit in my body right up out of my face, because there's no way that I would sit down or turn my back on a group of people with my penis in my hand and in a place like that. That is crazy.
No.
So when you were sitting in there, what's going through your head? Just fear?
Fear. I'm fucking cold as shit because
mm-hmm.
they keep it, 37 degrees in there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
And all the cold hearts in there, too.
The cold hearts. Everybody's an asshole.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an attitude. But I'll tell you what, I did meet this one dude who had one leg, and I'm not shitting you. He had one leg, and he had been arrested he came home, him and his wife had come home, and they had locked themselves out of their house. So they began to break into their house because it was late. They wanted to go home, and they were tired.
It's their house.
It's their home. They break into the house, and, it's late. They've probably been drinking. They get in, and they start, doing the nasty.
Sex, you mean?
Sex, you know.
Oh, I didn't know if they were fucking wiping boogers on each other, dude. There's a lot of different definitions of the nasty out there. We used to try to hide sugar packets in each other's ass, dude, and that was like it was like wrestling. If you could get one of those pink saccharin packets into somebody's ass, you won.
Try hiding a Hershey's Kiss in somebody's ass while you're sleeping next to them.
God,
in the middle of the
damn,
night.
boy. Damn, boy. That's the Advent
take the foil
calendar.
off. Yeah, exactly. Take the foil off and tuck it up in there and see how they wake up in the morning.
Take the foil off. Come on, man. You've changed, man. You've changed. Take the foil off.
Okay, so
yeah,
dude gets arrested, or no, the neighbors call on him being too loud, and they think somebody's breaking into the house next door. Police come, and he's got one leg. He's having sex with his wife, and he's arrested with a bottle of KY in one hand and a dildo in the other.
Party. And
that's how he shows up to the jail.
Oh,
and that's all I remember, really. I don't remember anything else except for that dude.
That's silverware in Palm Springs, bro. That's San Francisco silverware, dude. A dildo and a bottle of KY, son. That's all that is, man. That's a cutlery set. Wow. Well, it's just remarkable, man. I appreciate you so much for calling. And now you have a wife, you said.
I have a wife and 3 children, 3 girls.
That's beautiful, man. And you guys still live there in Texas?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, man. I love Texas. My favorite state to perform in.
I can't wait for you to come back down here.
Yeah, let me know, man. Well, look, we're gonna ride separately to the show, but I'd love to get you.
Won't let you anywhere near my wife.
Okay, that's fair, bro. I won't let
And
you.
I've already warned her. Okay.
I won't let you anywhere near a gun if I bring one. Okay.
Hey, man, I carry my own now these days. These are mine and legal.
That's what I'm saying. Well, look, because here's the crazy part. If there's people like you as a child out there, as an adult, you have to be prepared. You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's exactly it,
I gotta protect my girls from people like me.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's the exact. I don't have children yet, but that's exactly, I'm sure, what goes through a lot of dads' heads. You know.
Of course.
Well, Adam, we appreciate it so much, man. This is awesome. It's been a great first call. This is like a milestone kind of for the podcast. And
Theo, I hope I came through for you.
You did. 100%. This is just a good practice, just to talk to somebody for the first time and have it be such a thing that, I just, was talking about something and you had actually lived it out. So.
Oh yeah, you have no idea how nervous I was, man.
Dude, me too, 100%. So we were both nervous. We got it done together, man. I appreciate you.
Beautiful, buddy.
All right. Will you text?
God bless you and take care.
Same here. And if you hear that I'm coming to town, just drop me a text on the hotline, and I'll get you guys some tickets. You'll be my guest for sure.
Beautiful, man. Thank you.
All right. Happy New Year to you and your family, bro.
All right, man. You too. Take care.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Wow. And there you heard it right there. And you know what's wild? And thank you so much, Adam, for calling in. And what's even wilder is on my Facebook page. There's the clip of this Denny's, and the Denny's bit is just about I hated going to Denny's. It was an early comedy bit of mine. It's one that I didn't do on the road last year, but I still love it. I just haven't done it in a long time. And I played a little bit for you a second ago, but somebody posted on my Facebook page. My dad actually got shot to death at a Denny's because somebody ran in with guns and shot it up. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, holy shit, man, this is horrible. He goes, but I still love this comedy bit. That's what he said. And then he posted a link to the news story that happened when I believe his father got killed at a Denny's. So R.I.P. to his father. This is kind of cornered myself into a weird spot here. But you just never know. Here's something tragic that happened to that man, that happened to that boy's father, but then years later, he sees it online and is able to laugh a little bit. So I know that's not the way that some people want to laugh, but I'm glad that it worked out that way for that young man. I'm glad Adam didn't go to jail because he got a beautiful family now. And that's just a word out there that we can all recover from, something heavy. Something hits you, you can recover. 3 years ago, my brother's house burned down. They got hit by lightning. They got hit by dang lightning. And you can do a lot of stuff in your life. You can learn to read. You can learn to swim. You can learn to dance. You can graduate college. You can graduate high school. You can get a GED. None of that. You can own a business. None of that shit's, you can't stop getting hit by lightning. Sometime life going to throw you those curve lightnings, and you got to bounce back, whatever it is. And this man, Adam, that called in, shot up a dang Denny's, and now he's back. He's back. He has a family, and he's living life. And we appreciate him being the first caller on this past weekend for this past Thursday episode. Oh, man, it was a slow call, though. At some points, I'm like, damn, am I still paying attention to this story? But maybe I wasn't asking some of the right questions. We learn as we go. We learn as we go. We want to thank our charter sponsor, Greyblock Pizza, because them cats is out there doing it right. We got a couple of calls that came in. We had a young lady that called who's still a virgin, Danielle, the 25-year-old virgin. And, sometimes she's worried, does that affect her, ability to have, how will guys look at it? We got some calls about that. Because that thing can get a little ripe. That thing can get a little bit ripe. First it's a peach, and then after a couple years, it's more of an apricot. And then you just running around with just a bag of raisins between your legs. So sometimes you have to figure that out. But I appreciate you calling in, Danielle. We're going to get to that advice here in just a second. A fresh new year has begun, and if you're setting new goals for your business, it's extremely difficult to reach them goals without the right people on your team. Where would Michael Jordan be without the other players he played with? Well, ZipRecruiter.com has transformed how you go about finding the other members of your team. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So imagine just making a click, boom, suddenly you got people around that want to work for you. Knock, knock, who's there? Potential employees. ZipRecruiter actively looks for the most qualified candidates and invites them to apply. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. Can you believe the internet will bring you somebody worthwhile? Finally, after all these being on Tinder and all of this, it's finally nice to be in a place where I'm going to find somebody decent. That's right, and our listeners can post on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, for free right now. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. If you put someone on another site, you're going to get, another site type of person. Go get the best, and you don't have to do the looking. Let ZipRecruiter.com look for you. So that's it. We got the Denny's. We got the first call out of the way. That's exciting. In the future, if you need help with something, if you're struggling, it could be with anything. Smoking, buying a home, drugs, you got ashy skin, menthol, peanut butter. It could be anything. Whatever your issue is, if you need basic life suggestions, if there's something that I can help with, hit the hotline 985-664-9503. We had some great calls that come in, and one of those was Danielle the Virgin from last week. And I'm sorry to just call you that, Danielle, if you're listening this week on Thursday today, that probably makes you feel a little bit awkward, because I know there's a lot more to you than just that, than just that locked up little garage, than just that locked up little sweat locker, I know there's more. I know that there's a lot more to you, but what you called about was that virginity, What you called about was that spicy little V card. And that's what we want to talk about. So some people called in with advice for you. She's 25. She wanted to know if it affects the way that men look at her, think about her, or any suggestions. Here we go. This is Rob.
Hey, Theo. This is Rob from Massachusetts. Calling in with my 2 cents on your caller who is a virgin that called in. She has a couple of options here. One of them is, she's got to go out there and put herself out there. I remember a time when I was in college with all my friends out at the bars drinking. I would have loved, someone walked up to me and said, hey, let's go do this. I'm a virgin. You wouldn't have thought twice.
That's true. That sounds like a drink special right there. I mean, let me tell you this. If you set up a deal with a local bar, Danielle, and just to pick a man, and I'm not saying to sell your body or anything like that. I'm not trying to be, degrading to you. I'm just piggybacking off of Rob's idea because Rob obviously has issues that he's offering this up. I'm joking, Rob. But that's the fact that, if you set up with a bar, said, hey, look, I'm a virgin. Let's have meet a virgin night. Woo-woo. And you took 50% of the door. Now we're talking you're making $1,500 a weekend. And you still have your virginity, depending upon how the night goes and what you're into. Let's hear more, Rob.
I think that maybe she's overestimating people's apprehension to that. A few drinks and people are going to do what they're looking to do when they go to bars. If she's willing to go out to those types of settings. Other option, if she's not looking for the one night stand type thing, is put yourself out there in a relationship. And if you connect with somebody and you end up sharing with them that you're a virgin, they should be happy for you. They should be happy to share that experience with you. And if they're not, and they think that it's off-putting, then maybe you shouldn't be with that person.
There you go. That's 2 other beautiful little slices of information cake there from Rob. So, fill your sweet tongue up with that. With that frickin' pastry right there, boy. Rob dropping them sweet pastries in Danielle's ear holes. because that's the only thing you can, that's the only holes you can fill on her right now. Boom, boom. Bad joke. But that's it, Danielle, is like, you could, make it a promotional type of thing at a bar if you're trying to make it exciting. You could, if it's religious based, then, just keep following your heart there. And talk to, someone you trust in the religious realm, if you need that, or talk to other friends who have the same beliefs and the same level of beliefs that you do, the same practices that you do. And I'm sure they can give you guidance. If you said it's not because you haven't wanted to, but because men hadn't really, tried to get that from you, hadn't trying to get that dug out of you, hadn't trying to frickin' hunt down that little, that slick mouth lobster trap, and if that's the case, then yeah, it might just be meeting the right guy. You could track somebody down, and if you really wanted to, you could tell them that you're ready to serve that thing up, and somebody would. But it can be dangerous to a man. It can be nerve-wracking, Maybe you could make a special night out of it. Invite a guy over to a nice hotel room, do it your way. That Burger King virginity. But young men will do anything. That was a good point Rob made. Young men will do anything. I remember I used to go party out with some people, and every night I would pee all over this guy Christopher, who's in prison now. And we would take his dad's car out, and his dad had sunglasses in the back, and I would urinate all. They were samples. His dad sold sunglasses to people around the region. He was in that regional optical game. And I would, I'd take a couple hits of weed, and I would urinate all over the glasses in the back of this guy's van. And we'd go to parties. I wouldn't even go to the party. I would literally stay in the van drinking alcohol and peeing on these boxes of glasses. And the only reason I would do it was because the rest of the week, I wanted to be at school or wherever and picture in my mind a man trying to sell just pee-pee glasses to people, just trying to sell piss specs to people out there. People trying them on, them getting a little bit stuck to people's hair and stuff like that. Like, that's the dark arts was in me. That's the dark arts that infected my ability to think and it was making me behave that way. And that's what I wanted to do, though. So instead of enjoying the party in the present moment, I would choose to stay in a van and urinate on sale samples, just because of the joy it would bring me the rest of the week, picturing people trying on Oakleys, that smell a little bit too strong of vitamin B12, But anyhow, that just goes to say young men will do anything. Here's another call from Zach for you, Danielle. Here we go.
Theo, what's going on, man? It's Zach, calling from Omaha, Nebraska. I wanted to call and give my opinion to sweet, sweet Danielle, who you put on there, the 25-year-old virgin. She left out a lot of information, too. What I would say is that if she's going to lose her virginity to a guy that's like 25, her age or older, there's probably going to be some consideration there, at least at first. And then, like you said, though, these guys are going to be thinking about this. It's going to be turning them on. They're going to want to be that first ride, the first one to dig her out, dude.
Yeah, bro, I hear you, dude. You're making me freaking feel squirrely by saying dig her out right there, but we'll keep listening.
I don't mean to sound, crude or whatever toward her,
You definitely do. You sound like a dang grave digger, dude. Dig her out? Dang, man. She in a coffin hole, bro, I'm just giving you a hard time. Let's hear more, but it was a little bit crude. Onward.
She's a virgin. I don't know. If she's not full of shit, then I think that she shouldn't worry at all.
There you go. That's the thing. There's been 1 billion virginities in the world. People have gotten rid of them in different places. And, I know it's important to you. It's not going to probably change the shape of the universe too much, but it will be something you'll remember. I remember, lost my virginity behind a bowling alley. And people were throwing rocks at me the whole time while I was trying to have sex. And that's very Middle Eastern, if you will. And it's hard to keep an erection up with that kind of stuff going on. And so, we all have a memory. We all have something that happens. I was in Charleston, South Carolina, and I made love to some gal. And it was her first time. And I still think about her. She was a pretty girl. She had curly hair. And sometimes I still think about her. Wondering where she's at, if she ever thinks about, that moment in time, that I was the first experience, and it probably wasn't even that good either. But that's the thing. If there's dudes that aren't out that aren't good at sex, this is a great opportunity for them. All right, let's move along. Here we go. This was Matt called in on 12/21. He had a food addiction. We gave some suggestions to him last episode, and then he called back. This was Matt's call that just came in on the hotline. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is Matt from Cleveland. Fat Matt, as you so eloquently put it.
And, I listened back to that, Matt, and I want to apologize for calling you Fat Matt. I was just trying to make a point that we all have some name. We all have, blind Ryan, or deaf Jeff if you're deaf, and if your name's Jeff. And if you're even saying that to Jeff, he fucking doesn't care, or, bent Clint, if somebody that has scoliosis and their name's Clint. We actually had a boy named Clint in our class, and people called him Clintoris. And so everybody has something with their name. So that was the correlation I was trying to make. I was actually trying to relate to you. I think I did it in a bad way by calling you Fat Matt. Here we go.
Appreciate you taking some calls from me. I did not like being called a pussy ass bitch, but sometimes you do need to hear that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that part. I was just, it was the new year. I was feeling fired up, and some of the calls. I have an assistant now that's helping put these through, so I hear them for the first time. And I thought that was out of line. But then sometimes we got to hear that shit. Sometimes we don't want to hear the truth out here in the world. And I know it's not my job to decide what the truth is for you, but I was just giving you the different options that came in. Let's hear more, Matt.
I'm going to start walking like the guy suggested. Try to get into some plain water. Do my thing.
Now, that plain water, you set yourself up there by saying you didn't like plain water. Dude, you got to have water. Because the earth is 98% water, dude. So you can't be associated with something that you're not willing to take into yourself. So you need to get out there and get that H2O in you, brother. More?
I don't think I sound fat, by the way.
I agree. You don't sound fat at all, dude. You sound trim, And we all have something, dude, I got to, I have the foundation, the hip structure of a Down syndrome child. And that's not bad. It doesn't make them bad people and doesn't make me a bad person. You might be bigger now and you might be smaller later. I was real skinny growing up and everybody called me Mexican all the time because I had tan skin. Because people were idiots. Let's hear more.
I think I sound sick. Irregardless, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to check in on a few months and let you know how everything's going. Get into some plain water and some get hungry instead of crazy.
There we go. That's plain water Matt, baby. That's plain water Matt right there. And look, man, I'd love it. If you want to send a picture in, you can text it into the hotline number 985-664-9503, Matt. And we'll check in with you, man. We'll check. I'm trying to get back into some physical fitness myself. So you saying that right there inspires me to say, look, if I can sit here and put on a hotline that some guy talking about some man that needs to lose weight, at least that I can do is get out there and go for a run for myself and help my own veins and arteries feel a little bit better. So I wish you well, and we'll check back in with you, Matt. All right, let's keep the calls moving here. We got another couple of calls that came in, but first I want to read this to you guys. A fresh new year has begun, and if you're setting new goals for your business, it's extremely difficult to reach them without the right people on your team. Well, ZipRecruiter has transformed how you go about finding those people. That's the truth. If you're in need of great talent for your business, but you're short on time, you don't have to get lost in a huge stack of resumes to find your perfect hire. That stack of resumes is waiting out there electronically, and you just need smarter tools to reach them. Those tools ZipRecruiter has. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So if you're applying for a job or you're looking for a hire, go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter.com. Unlike other hiring sites, it doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. So if you need your yard raked, you need your taxes done, you need somebody to make love to your wife, that might be a stretch, but I bet if you ask nicely, ZipRecruiter has not only people who can do your position, literally, but people who can do the position the best. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. That's right, ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. You can post jobs for free. That's right, for free. So try it out. That's all you're going to do. You're going to go to ZipRecruiter.com and post jobs for free. ZipRecruiter.com/TPW and post jobs for free. All right, we got a call right here. I want to crack into this one. Here we go.
Yo, what's good, Theo? This is Jackson Southern, North Kakalaki.
Jackson, thanks for calling, man, from North Carolina.
I'm calling because I got right now on the 29th of December, I have 5 months sober. And, I've been getting high since I was high on pills. I started smoking at 11. I started getting high at 14.
Hey, man, congratulations on 5 months. And if that was December 29th, then you are tomorrow or in 2 days, you'll be at 5 months in a week. So congratulations, man. I know that's a real battle. Onward.
Started using a needle, 17. I lost my best friend, and I got my first taste of real sobriety, longer than a week or so this past year. And like I said, it'll be 5 months on the 29th.
Man, that's awesome, man. Man, that scares me just to hear you say that, using a needle. That's scary, bro. I can't, I never had that experience. So I don't know what that's like. But I know what it's like to want to do things to yourself that are harmful, but they feel good. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to harm yourself, but it feels good to make yourself feel at all. And I don't know if that makes 100% of sense, but in my mind and in my heart it does, that I know what it's like to, to do bad things to yourself. Just to be in that hole where the way that you, because you're in a world, for me anyway, I just didn't care about myself enough to do good things to myself, because I just, somewhere inside of me, felt like I didn't deserve those things. So, but yeah, man, that scares me when I see that. There's, when I see those intervention shows and I see people, I just can't watch that stuff because of that. But I appreciate you being brave enough to tell us about that. Onward.
Yeah, basically, man, I don't know. Life just gets boring as fuck. It's like, I don't know what to do now. Drugs always fill my fun time. And I know going back to them ain't gonna make shit fun at all. I know I just find it easy to fall into this hole. I found this girl. I know they say not to get in a relationship, but I think I'm in love. I don't know if I'm feeling the void of that. I don't know. But the thing is, she's long distance, man, and I'm crazy over her. And it's hard to make it work living across the country right now. But, I'd rather have her than any girl that I could have here. But it's like I have a hard time trusting, and I'm real jealous and real needy. And it's just, I don't know if it's controlling me. I don't know if it's part of my addiction. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's so funny when you say, I don't know, man. You sound like me. You sound like me sometimes. It's almost like hearing myself in certain relationships and certain conversations I've been in with people, especially with girls. Look, man, I'm proud of you. I think 12-step programs, I don't care if you don't have anything going on in your life, we can always find ways to make our life healthier. And it's amazing, man. It's amazing what can happen in there. Now, that long distance, dude, I'll tell you this. Even in my past year, I felt like I, met a girl and at times put that in front of getting a good foundation in my sobriety and stuff like that. So, I use some of that term loosely, my sobriety. Everybody has their own walk with it. I don't know if I'll always be this way. I don't know. But for now, I just know that I didn't lay the groundwork as well as I should have. And so then when relationships get tough, I don't have a foundation to fall back on. And so that's scary. So it's okay. I feel like if you want to put a girl up with with the work you're doing, but you got to do that work, man. You know, and I'm saying that because I need to hear it, because you know, I've been in this thing a year and a half, and I'm still, you know, haven't gone all the way through the steps. So, you know, there's just be careful. You know, be careful, because it seemed like, you know, you can still be learning how to live, and you don't have all the tools, and then you take on a responsibility like love, and that can be a big responsibility for somebody that you know, that doesn't, you know, have arms yet. You know, so keep your head up, man. I love you, bro. You know, I'm proud of you. You calling and me hearing that from you, it made me feel, you know, it made me feel alive, which is crazy, because that's probably something that drugs used to do for you. But now it's like the drug that I think a lot of these programs get you hooked on is just the heaviness of other people's lives and the realities of other people's lives. And anyhow, happy to be on board with you, bud. Happy to have you on the show, and thank you very much for calling. What else? We got a couple of other things that happened, but I'm gonna shut it down for today, guys. This has been a good episode. I feel like we'll be back on Monday. What else? We got the dates. We let all those out. Greyblock Pizza, as always. We just they had somebody hit up Greyblock and comment on their. We had somebody hit up Greyblock and comment on their Yelp page that they heard about him here, and that was awesome, man. That made me feel really, really cool. They got that salad pizza, bro. They got it all. But that's it, man. We'll catch you guys next time. Matt, you know, I appreciate your call. Zach, thank you for calling in for the advice. Rob, all the advice for Danielle. That Denny's, that shoot 'em up, bang, bang, boy. That pop breakfast, dude. That syrup has a fucking sulfury aftertaste, doesn't it? Because that's that gunplay. That's that gunplay out in the lot, boo-boo. So you stay active, man. You stay active. That's what we're doing out here. That's what we're doing out here in this world. Thank you guys for being a part of this past weekend. See you on Monday. That's Jesse Lucero taking us out. Thank you, Corey, for being here today to guide us. Thank you, Patreon, taking us to that next level here. We got some nice cameras. We're looking clean. We got the new hotline where we're going to be able to talk to people. Man, what can happen? What can happen? Anything can happen when we're working together out here in this new year. Also, if you got a New Year's resolution that you've been keeping on this heavy with you, that's a real one, some real shit, let us know. That's a Jesse Lucero right there. Thank you for that hit, Jesse. We'll see you guys next time. Be good to yourselves. You probably deserve it. You know? So that's a good way to frame it up. Now, Andrew, I'm not trying to point any fingers at you or blame you. We don't know your situation exactly. But that's a good call, and that's a good way to think. And those things do sit heavier with women. You know, with men it's different. Because women, they know once they have a baby too, you know, their body's all that, you know, they start Rubik's cubing. And next thing you know, half their stomach is down, but on their thighs and everything changes, you know, and that's just part of God's plan out here. We got another call that came in, and this one, let's hear it. I have not heard any of these calls yet, but I do know in the notation here, it says that this is from David, who's a marriage and family therapist, calling in for Andrew. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, this is David calling in response to Andrew's question on your last episode. What I want you to think about for a second.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, David. Onward.
Is your wife, she don't want to be fat and overweight. And by you losing the weight, guess what that does? That makes her feel more shitty and more insecure. Trust me, every guy out there, if you don't like your body, don't like the way you look, think about the normal woman, times that by 100, and that's how they think about their body. And in her mind, because you lost the weight, it's going to make it harder for her, right? One other thing I want you to understand is that being real is how you're going to connect with her. So being vulnerable is very valuable. You got to be vulnerable to even be available to connect with her. And pornography is an intimacy issue, dude. Think about this. You're more likely to look at porn when you don't have a connection with yourself families, friends, if you're not connected with your job, if you're not connected with your wife, you're definitely more likely to look at pornography. So those are all the just information, stuff like that. But I know you want to be a positive influence for your wife. I know you don't want a divorce, man. You pull her aside and you tell her, because remember, you got to be vulnerable with her first. You can't just be like, hey, you got to do better. You got to lose weight. All that criticism ain't going to work. Tell her, baby, I know I've made some comments about your weight. I've criticized you in the past, and I'm sorry. Give her compliments throughout the day when you see her making little choices. Like, you know, just instead of saying, oh, yeah, you could eat better, just say, hey, you know, babe, like, that's cool that you chose that. You didn't have to do that.
And there you go. And I know I let that call play long, but that gentleman talks fast. You know, and that guy sounds pretty smart, and he talks pretty quick. You know, and any man that can put that many words together successfully in a row without, and it sounded like you even used the correct punctuation. So at that point, you let a man go. You know, that's like when somebody, you know, that's like when a train's coming by and, you know, you want to touch one of the windows on it. Man, fuck that, dude. You touch the window on a Prius when it's going by. You don't fucking touch the window on a train. And that man was on a train. But I appreciate that. That's some good insight. You know, it's just a little more insight for you there. We got another call that came in right here. And then, guys, we got one of the best caller questions I've had come in. I just know it from the subline. And I'm just ecstatic, bro. So let's keep this vibe going here. Here we go.
What's going on, Theo? This is Nathan from New Hampshire.
Thank you for calling, Nathan from New Hampshire. And one of my good friends, Mike Boogie, is from over in New Hampshire. And that's a beautiful state that I've never been to, but that my luggage got lost one time on Southwest Airlines, and my luggage went to New Hampshire. So a lot of my clothes that I'll wear, if you see me sometimes, you might look at him and be like, oh, he's been in New Hampshire. But that's just an illusion because my clothes have been. Onward.
Calling in regards to Andrew and his issues with his wife and their issue losing weight together. I guess my first suggestion to him would be try to get his wife to go with him to the gym, you know, try to persuade her, say, I don't want to go to the gym by myself. It'll be a lot easier if we go together. We can motivate each other, use that type of tactic. Or you can also use the whole New Year's resolution thing. I mean, I think it's perfect timing for that, you know. Say, hey, why don't one of your New Year's resolutions be to go to the gym more often and make that deal happen that we had together? Because it sounds like he completed his end of the bargain and she didn't.
Yep, that's a good thought. That's a good thought right there. You know, the damn spin of the earth. You know, it went around the moon or whatever, however it works up there, 364 times to give you that excuse right about now, didn't it, Mr. Andrew? So you have that galactic excuse on the horizon. And that's fuck. If this shit happens in May, boy, you shit out of luck. But this shit's happening right now. Here we go, man. We got another caller that came in. That's... It's tough, man. It's a tough situation that you're in. And it's tough also because of the influences that are out there today. It's like, even if you're not looking at pornography, even if you're not doing that, fuck, if I look through my Instagram feed, say I wake up in the morning, right? Say you're with your girl, or say you're with your girl. You wake up in the morning, she's at her place, you know, y'all going to meet for breakfast. You out there, you hit the toilet, you know, you're letting your body do that blowout, you know, you changing your fucking oil, and you look at your Instagram feed. You're just looking at regular pictures. You're not even looking at anything nasty or any titty work or anything like that, or even any pictures of women by the beach or anything. You're just looking at regular stuff. Now, going through the feed, you're going to see 9 or 11 pictures of chicks, hot chicks probably, attractive women, or women trying to look their most attractive and doing it successfully. So before you even meet your lady for breakfast, you've already seen 9 or 11 good-looking chicks. You've already been stimulated. Because here's the thing. You might look at something, you don't think anything. Your brain thinks something. Our brains are way more powerful than we are out here. So next thing you know, you see your lady, you've already been stimulated 9 or 11 times by hot women. And if some of those women are in sensual positions, or, fucking, picking an apple out of a tree with their ass or whatever, some of these women are doing on the internet and, jumping up in the air and fucking, showing their pussy to the moon or whatever they're doing. If you see that, you're stimulated before you even see your woman. So what I'm saying is there's so much stimulation out there that we don't even know that's chipping away at our libidos before we even see our lady. So it's front lines out there. Sorry, that's an alarm right there reminding me to not think about myself. Damn. I'm fucked up when I got that thing on there. But yeah, so look, the stimulation's out there and we're fighting it. And that's a really good point that you gave in there. Nathan, with that call right there. That's a really good point that you gave, and I'm going to play the end of that one more time.
I want to go to the gym by myself. It'll be a lot easier if we go together. We can motivate each other.
There you go. Because the thing is sometimes you have to do it together. It's not like you do it and I'll do it. Let's do it at the same time. That doesn't always work, because if you get it done, then at a certain point, I wonder, Andrew, if you were even, for the second half of your training, were you even training out of resentment? Like, was resentment fueling you? Because that would be fueling me. If I make a deal with my lady and she's not doing it, I'm still doing it, then I'm going to the gym and I'm showing up, and a half that second, them last fucking 40 humps with those kettlebells are out of resentment. And I'm coming back to the house with my shirt off. I'm spraying extra fucking, rose water on my chest in the car and shit before I go in the house. So I'm looking flexy when I walk in. And at that point, I'm riding on, what's driving me is not healthy. And I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying that would be me. That would be me if I was in your shoes. That's what would have been happening to me. We got a beautiful lady that called in here. It just says female caller. That's all I know. We're hearing this together for the first time. Here we go.
Hi, Theo. I have some advice for your caller, Andrew.
Yep. Thank you for calling. Let's hear it.
I would say to Andrew, if him and his wife mind fuck ever, my significant other and I, we don't really, do sex that much, but our minds fuck every day. He's just my ride or die. He's the kind of person that if I'm feeling down, he'll do anything in the world to just make it better. And, that's what I need in a partner out of life. And I don't know for Andrew if that's the truth for his life. So if he has issues in that department, that might be what's causing a lot of the regret or resentment towards his wife. So I would say focus on what really matters in life. Those people that'll be there for you.
Yep. And I didn't mean to cut you off. Hey, let's hear the end of that.
For you, no matter.
Those people that'll be there for you no matter what. Sorry, the call ends right there. And that lady's saying, well, how about mind fucking? That's more important than being out there in the sensual streets. That getting your minds to fucking, reach across the room and tangle up next to each other. Letting your thoughts mix and letting your words mix and sharing ideas and being sentimental and sensual that way. And not even ideas like, oh, let's touch and let's fucking, squeeze each other's titty meat and shit like that. She just means regular conversation, I'm assuming. She just means, talking, communicating. And I noticed that too, man. This girl I was talking to and have been talking to and when I get the, I need, if things get too complacent in the communication, that can be scary. When you just fall into these comfortable patterns, it can be awesome because it's comfortable, but at the same time, it loses, the allure kind of dies. Some of the novelty wears off, and even in conversation. And so you have to, man. And I'm just realizing now I don't see how some of you guys do it. I don't even see how you do it. I mean, I don't see how some of these guys do it and stay in these relationships and are able to do it. I commend you, man. I commend you, fellas. If you're out there and you staying, you holding the line, you out there Dunkirking for that ass, for that wife, for that family. You out there Dunkirking. 'Cause fuck, man. I've thrown in I've raised the white flag, dude, many a times. And not even when the going got tough. I brought the white flag to the first date. You know, but I don't want to always be that way, and I don't plan to always be that way, but sometimes you know, where we are until we take action, and then we can end up where we want to be. And that's what I'm hopefully trying to do. Here we go. Now, Andrew, this call says Andrew added more info. Andrew called and added more info. Now, some of you guys know we got the assistant, Chris Perez, a Latino gentleman, and we got Wild Corey. And Wild Corey handled the technical side, and we got Bud Galloway. And Bud Galloway is also another technician, and he's been out of town. And he also sometimes does a little bit of drinking. But Wild Corey got a fucking, you know, he got that action in his fucking Jackson, you know. He got the, you know, he got that, you know, he coming in like he fucking hung out in a thunderstorm too much and he didn't catch lightning directly, but he was sure as fuck was standing next to something that got hit by it. He's got that in him. But Chris Perez, the beautiful Latino gentleman, he's the one who puts all these calls in. And so here we go. This is another one that came in, and this is from Andrew, who called back. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, it's Andrew from PEI, Prince Edward Island, Canada. Again, I didn't mention that there's love there. Like, I may not be attracted to her, but I deeply love her. And we have 3 beautiful children whom I also deeply love. So I definitely don't just want to scrap it, but I do need to figure out how to make it work.
Well, that's good. That's good added information, and thank you for calling out about that. And I think you got some good, you know, some unique calls that have come in, man. And I'm glad that you brought this up, because this is a fucking real shit. You know, I remember seeing a dude one time. This dude, just when I was young, dropped his wife off in our neighborhood, man, and that was it, dude. This lady Terry, boy, and she lived by us for about 9 years. I remember seeing that dude leave, boy. And that was it. Fuck, I remember she got out and they were arguing or something, and I went over there to look at the car because the car was kind of nice. It was like a Nova, Chevy Nova. And I was like, damn, this is a fine fucking car, boy. You know? And had bumper stickers and shit on it. You know what I'm saying? Shit that made it fucking tight. And they're fucking sitting there fighting, man. And I'm looking around in the windows and shit, and then he left. I remember even waving. I didn't know who they were, man. I waved at him. And then Terry lived in our neighborhood for about 9 years, bro. Her husband dropped her the fuck off. And it was interesting because I had, you know, I didn't ever have any feelings for her or nothing, but I did, you know, I saw some of her struggles and saw what was going on. And she would kind of, you know, there were times where she went through bouts where she was, you know, we'd go over there sometime, and we got into some, when Peepin' Tom was popular, just before everybody had cable, when you just go get you a little ladder, you know, or rent a ladder and go watch people in the neighborhood fucking live their lives. Sometimes it'd be sex, sometimes it'd be people, you know, beating each other with shit, or I don't know what it would be doing. But we used to go Peepin' Tom at her house a little bit, and it got pretty interesting. Seeing a single lady out there in them Dayton streets, you know, in the early 90s. Praise God. All right, man. Let's hear a little more. This is another call that we got right here. And that's it. That's all the calls that we got, Andrew, that came in on that topic. So I appreciate you calling in and letting us kick it around a little bit. And you said that you're going to that pornography as an outlet, and that's now that's a separate thing, because then you have this whole magnet of pornography that's attracting you. You know, and that stuff gets wild. People, you know, catching, you know, I seen a woman catch a ground rule double in her vagina on one of those, you know, Vietnamese sites. And it's, I mean, damn, boy. This lady had a fucking Ozzie Smith down there between her legs, you know? So you got to be careful out there, because you can get addicted to that. And they'll use trickery like that to wrap you into pornography. Oh, you love sports? Okay. Well, here's some lady catching a fucking foul ball in her ass. And next thing you know, you think you're watching baseball, and next thing you know, you jerked off and you passed out. And you passed out in the family chair. You passed out on the couch. Or you done sprayed out and passed out on a glass coffee table. And your nephew comes in there and finds you. You know, and then that's that, and then you're doing something else because then you're heading down that way. And I have struggled out in them J streets. I've struggled in them jerks. And the thing I was even thinking about this today, and we even talked about it on Fighter and the Kid, that I noticed when masturbation got out of hand for Daddy was when it wasn't even about, I wasn't even feeling that much joy from catching that newt, you know? From fucking, you know, because you pleasing and pleasing and pleasing, and then you catch that, you know, that Newt Gingrich, boy. And I wasn't even feeling joy from catching that newt. All I was feeling like I had serviced a habit. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the beginning, when I would jerk off or masturbate, I would feel, you know, like a joy. Like, oh, yeah, I'm a randy gent. But then I noticed over time, it would feel like, oh, it was almost like if you smoked a cigarette. It was like, oh, it fed the habit. You weren't getting anything out of the action really anymore. You were getting a little something, but a higher percentage of what you were getting was just feeding the habit. And for me, that's when I noticed that not watching how much I entertain the idea of pornography is dangerous. Here we got a call right here that came in, and this is from Michael. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Michael from Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, Tacoma. And I'll be up there, like I mentioned earlier, and that is March 15th and 16th, and the 17th I'll be in Spokane. Let's hear more from you, Mr. Michael.
So you're always talking about self-pleasure and quitting masturbating and all that, and it got me to thinking the best and worst orgasm I ever had in regard to self-pleasure. So, you know, I started doing it when I was around 10 or 11 years old. Right?
Ooh, man. And it's crazy now, because here, you know what's weird now is Michael tells me that, and now I'm picturing in my mind a young boy. Now, what the fuck is going on? So does that mean I'm a bad person? Is Michael a bad person, or are we just sharing a story? Onward.
Old, right? And I thought I was being slick by taking a shower. So I would take like 3 or 4 showers a day.
Oh, yeah, boy. Dude, there was probably about 7 months where I didn't take a bath towel off my body, boy. I was in there fucking young gunning, dude. Dude, it was fun jerking off when you were young, man. How much fucking fun was it? You got home from school, people were like, what are you going to do? Oh, nothing. What are you going to do? Oh, nothing. All right, bro. Talk to you later. Then everybody ran in their house and jerked off, dude. Or sometime, depending on the weather, you guys might fucking jerk off out in the woods, you know? That was fun, man. That was being young, and that was when it was an adventure. Let's hear more. I'm curious now.
So this one time, my dad, he needed help moving a couch because he just got a new couch. So I'm like, hey, Dad, you know, before I move this couch, let me take a quick shower so I can get myself right. And I thought I was being slick. Obviously, I wasn't. He knew what the fuck I was doing.
Damn, dude. Now, that's an early warning sign. If you got a jerk off before you can even adjust furniture, it's going to be a long life because, you know, the average person moves probably about 7 times in their life. Let's hear more.
So I go to the bathroom, I turn the shower on, and I'm sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor and just kind of doing a little bit of sensual stuff with myself, you know. So as I'm getting closer, I kind of stand up and get near the sink so I can kind of spray out in the sink, you know.
Oh, boy, that's that old, woo-woo, that old sink jack, huh? A real man goes over to the toilet and tries to fire it all into the bowl, and you know that. Here we go, Michael taking the easy way out by the sink, onward.
You know, no muss, no fuss. All of a sudden, my dad opens the door, and I could have sworn I locked that damn door.
Oh, because sometimes your brain and your spine is so lit up on the potential of jerking that you fucking forgot to click that lock.
It scares me so bad, I just start spraying all over the place, all over the sink and all over myself. And the worst part is, it felt good, too. So it was the best I've ever had, and I've been kind of chasing that dragon ever since.
Damn, dude. So you probably wearing your dad's shirt sometimes and just jerking off to try to get back to that vibe. Man, I can sympathize. One time, I was, and I'm hardy in the cock, boy. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming in thick Rick. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming in all sternum and nipples, bruh. You know, I'm coming in, damn, son. If my dick had a rib cage, it would have about 70 ribs in it. And sometimes, I'd be masturbating at home because it became, a popular activity. And I remember one time pleasuring myself and sitting on the bed, I was kind of sitting on the bed, had one knee on the floor, a little like on the edge of the bed, kind of kneeling down, and just, hitting myself with a couple of A and C chords right there on the wing. And my mother opened the door. And I was like, what the fuck, Mom? Close the door. So she closes the door. Now I'm high on that erection. I'm high on that sensuality. I mean, I don't know if there was a bigger dopamine rush than being 14 and jerking off. So I go right back into it, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing Every Rose Has Its Thorn on that. You know what I'm saying? I hit right back to those CAD chords on my wing. The ones, them pleasure chords, the ones that get you right to that poison. And my mother opened the door right back up. Like 4 seconds later. Maybe 2 seconds. And I'm still jerking off. And I'm like, what the fuck? Man, and that just... And I love the fact that I've asked my mother one time about that. Does she remember? And she said she doesn't remember it. And I believe that she does. But, in the kind heart of a mother, she would never say that she does. And I'm grateful for that because I don't have to... I can remember that. But when she tells me that she doesn't, it makes it so that I don't have to remember that every time. In those awkward moments, I don't have to... that doesn't weigh as heavily on me. And that is... that's one of the graces that our mothers allow us a lot of times, is the things they choose to forget. And that... that makes me even think more about your wife, Andrew. I don't know her. And look, I'm not saying that I've stepped out on any woman that any relationship I've ever been in, I've struggled in. So I'm one to talk. But it is amazing the gift that women have to look past things sometimes. It's amazing. A woman that really loves you and cares about your well-being, the ability they have to look past and to forget things that they could remember. Now also, boy, them bitches be remembering shit. But maybe mothers a lot of times will do it, but that's a grace that women have. And that really almost is a definition for me, a very specific example of a grace that women possess and that mothers possess, is the grace to not remember things about their sons or their daughters that they know it doesn't do them any good to hold on to, because they know that it only hurts us if they do. Now, we got a great call that came in. And also, I wish you the best of luck, Andrew. I mean, and I'm not trying to, and no judgment from me, and I don't think from anybody. I thought this was fucking interesting, man. There's a lot of interesting shit out there, because some people's killing their wives. They got a man out there, Scott Peterson's. He killed 4 or 5 fucking wives, dude. This dude killed 4 or 5 fucking wives. And they can't catch him. So it's, as long as you're not doing that, at least you're starting from you're starting from somewhere. If that's not your start answer, then at least you're in the running to be a good husband, to be a decent man. It's never too late to turn things around. You can learn from everything. So just fucking stay in it, man. Stay in it. All right, we got this call right here, and I've been bragging about this one. I haven't even heard it yet, but this call seems so legit to me Now, a lot of porn stars have died in this last year. And it happened towards the end of the year. And it's sad when anybody leaves this earth. But this call came in right here.
Hey, Theo, this is JP from down in Alabama.
Alabama. JP, I recognize that voice. That's my boy right there, JP. Let's hear it.
Calling you about what may be one of the darkest arts. See, I'm 35 year old, and I got about 23 years in the masturbation game.
Okay, so you've been out there a good bit, man. You at least a green belt. And you are 35. You sound about 60, but no disrespect, son. Onward.
And I was calling you about dead porn stars, man. Had two of the greats pass away in late 2017. Well, now they've left behind all this material. And I feel like a lot of people that are, scrolling through these porn sites and stuff, they may not know these girls are dead. What are your thoughts on people jerking it to dead porn stars?
Wow, if you didn't know what that is, that's my mind blowing up. That's that fucking brain shrapnel landing in your lemonade. Because JP from Alabama, who just won that natty champy, that naship, that hip. And Nick Saban, I'll say this, dude, I don't care who your team is. If you don't like Nick Saban, then you just have an issue with greatness, because that man is captivating. And here's why. I'll tell you this really quickly why he is. Because the pressure that mounts. I know he's got 1 million 5-star recruits. I think that they should put I think that they should stop the amount of recruits you can have that are of a certain ranking. I think you should only be allowed so many to even the playing field. Because at a certain point, that conduit to the NFL just runs right through Tuscaloosa. And they need to shut that down at a certain point or narrow that so you could widen other rivers. And in turn, I think give a lot of those players a bigger field to shine on because they'll be up against less talented players. Therefore, they're going to shine brighter. But I'll say this, with every year that they win, in the 5 out of 7 years that they win championships, or whatever it is, 5 out of 9, the pressure mounts. And that is when greatness, that is when you are at that level where that is when you can then reach for greatness. Or bubble up even to a higher level, is when the pressure continues to mount and you continue to rise. And that is what I think is remarkable about Nick Saban. And I'll say that about Nick Saban and Bill Belichick's. He might be cheating. They might be doing different things and shooting stuff and have special cameras, and hiding, DVR and people's fucking kneecaps and shit. But they continue to win. They continue to rise and to excel. And that's remarkable about those guys. But JP down in Alabama hit us with that question, and it made me think. A lot of people do not know that they are masturbating, sadly, to deceased porn stars. And what do you think about that? What